this Indian man is just drinking the pee and washing his face. It's just straight out of the cow.
Yeah, I mean, but like,
Oh my God.
Pee is
no.
pretty
Cows, do cows urinate? No. Cows use their bladder to urinate. Like a horse. No. Cows use their bladder to urinate like a horse or human. Milk is made in the udder, nowhere near the bladder. Here's the cow.
Oh, is someone? I think
it says,
someone's asking, do they pee out of their udders?
Urinate? No, yeah, that's exactly what somebody. It says, do cows urinate? Like, this is a real question somebody asked on Q. How do you say QU? Quora?
It's Quora.
Quora. This is somebody literally asks, do cows urinate milk?
This is Twin Stick Radio, episode 50 for the week of January 1st, 2019. Woo. I'm one of your hosts, Trey Higgins, and I'm joined by Chris Rodriguez.
It's not January the 1st.
Not right now, not for us, but for them it is. And Justin T. Lopez.
Man, I feel like I haven't seen you guys in forever.
The fourth wall has been broken.
This time it wasn't me. Usually it's me, and then usually I get yelled at for breaking it.
No, it's
What are you talking about?
You
never break the fourth wall.
Oh, I break it all the time.
No, you don't.
There's been times where we've like recorded a segment.
Oh, and you mistakenly say something. No, you're right. This
He's
time
he's a regular Deadpool. He's breaking the fourth wall all over the place.
That's what I was gonna say. When I Deadpool it, people get mad at me.
Yeah, but I did it on purpose.
Porpoise.
Porpoise. I just noticed your shirt is real pink and it says us.
Yeah, it's a Tasca shirt.
That's real pink.
Yeah, it wasn't by choice.
Like it is. I mean, we're talking like Fortnite pink.
Well, and the way it fits you, it kind of looks like slightly too small, but like not like fits well, but it like the proportions look wrong for the size of shirt it is, which makes me think it's a girl shirt. Because you just ate chicken.
Wait, what?
It looks like a girl shirt because the way that it like fits.
Did you ever see the episode of Friends when Ross buys a girl shirt?
I'm not talking about the jacket. I'm talking about the shirt.
What?
The episode of Friends where Ross buys the girl shirt and he thinks he looks really good.
Oh yeah,
but it's a woman's shirt.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And then he goes on a date and the girl takes her jacket off and it's the same damn shirt that he's wearing.
The best one is whenever Ross gets those black leather pants.
Oh, and he can't get them off at the date.
He can't get them off at a date, so he's talking to Joey.
He calls Joey of all people, how do I get these things off? Joey
tries baby powder.
Joey
he tries
goes,
lotion.
He's like, if tried baby powder, it won't come off. And Joey goes, have you tried lotion? He's like, no. So he tries lotion, and he's like rubbing lotion on his legs, trying to get these leather pants off. And he's like trying to get it off. And he's like, Joey's like, is it working? And Ross is like, no, but I've made a paste.
Yes, a paste. I've made a paste. That's my favorite.
Or when he bleaches his teeth. And he goes on the date, and he has these black lights in his apartment, and he turns them on and smiles, and his teeth
they're glowing,
glow alien green.
God. This is why I don't like Friends.
It's hilarious. This is why I love
Friends. No, because like as an outsider, like I will never watch Friends because anytime Friends comes up, you have to sit around and wait for 6 references to stop. It doesn't matter if you're doing a podcast or if you're drinking at a bar or if you're talking to a random stranger on the street. It's just like, ugh.
You're such a Monica.
You are such a Monica.
I'm down. Isn't she pretty?
They're all pretty.
They're all pretty.
Is she the blonde one?
No, she's a control freak.
She's
dark hair. Courtney Cox.
The one that's not Jennifer Aniston or that other girl.
Lisa Kudrow.
Yeah. Yikes.
Wait, it was Jennifer Aniston, right?
No, Monica is Courtney Cox.
No, I'm talking about the other girl that's not.
Was Jennifer Aniston in Friends? Yes.
There we go. Cool.
But she was not the blonde one.
I know she wasn't.
Okay. That's Rachel.
I don't understand. No, Rachel is Jennifer Aniston.
That's what I'm saying.
There's just a lot of famous Jennifers. So
name 5.
Jennifer Garner, Jennifer Lopez, Jennifer Anderson, Jennifer Quinn. Hale. She's not that famous. You can't say Jennifer.
She's a famous voice actor.
You can't say Jennifer. Like if
she
you
does
ask,
cartoons and shit.
If you ask somebody who just watches movies who Jennifer Hale was, they're not going to know who that is.
She's still famous.
And I don't think she's famous.
She is famous.
No. Okay, so this is
Oh
gonna
God,
be,
what have I done?
I don't want to do this. Can we just talk about
Jennifer Love Hewitt
afterwards?
No, Jennifer Love
There you
Hewitt.
go.
So hold on.
Jennifer Lopez.
So
okay, we're done.
Jennifer Aniston on Twitter.
I don't want to do this. Is going to take 5 hours.
Jennifer.
Hey, why are we here?
Yeah, we're here because we do a podcast about video games, and this is our 50th episode. And I thought it'd be really cool to line up our 50th episode with the first podcast we usually do every year. which is our Game of the Year show. This year, though, we're going to try to combine a bunch of different things into one episode, and hope to God we don't go way too long.
We're going to
Jennifer
cram it into
Aniston
an
has
hour and a half.
70,000 followers.
That's not a lot.
That's not true.
And hold on, I know, I understand that. Jennifer Hale, on the other hand, has 69.6, so she's not as famous as Jennifer Aniston.
I never
say
argued that
thousands
she's
or-
as famous as Jennifer Aniston.
well, Jennifer Aniston's famous. Jennifer
and she
Hale-
has only like 400 more followers
Jennifer
than Jennifer
Hale
Hale.
is not.
You also said 70,000.
That's what I know, 70,000.
She only has 70,000. There's no way.
Well, Jennifer Aniston probably also isn't as active as Jennifer Hale on Twitter.
There's no way she has 70,000. That's it?
I don't know. That's literally what I saw. It said 70.6K. That's 70,000. Unless I don't understand our freaking number system anymore.
Can we talk about Game of the Year and stop talking about Jennifer's?
Yes, you go on.
Jennifer Lopez, Jennifer
my God.
Aniston, Jennifer Love Hewitt, Jennifer Garner. You said 5, right?
That's not the official Jennifer Aniston.
Yeah, there is one. Scroll over.
That's not how you spell her
Let
name.
me see. But it has a check mark next to it. That's how you know it's verified, right? Isn't that how Twitter works? If there's a check mark next to it, it's verified.
She
Which
doesn't,
means
she doesn't have a Twitter.
well, what's the check marked one?
That's Jennifer Anderson.
Oh, Jennifer Aniston and Newston. Aniston.
This is why we don't do late podcasts. I think I've just figured it out. Okay, so as I was saying earlier, are we all on the same page, or do we want to keep doing the Jennifer conversation?
No, it's fine. Just
Okay.
cut it all out.
Jennifer Lawrence. 5 Jennifers more famous than Jennifer Hale.
So we do a video game podcast, and we usually record weekly. And we started the show with our Game of the Year talk. We are going to do our 50th episode with Game of the Year talk. So the way this works, these are our Twin Stickies,
Yeah.
as they are
Not what
famously
they're
called
Nope,
across the industry.
Not what they're called.
Yep, definitely what they're
100%
called.
not what they're called.
It's the biggest gaming award podcast
It's a
by
big,
us.
It's a big Gamey Award
So-
fart ever.
We have 6 categories. One new category this year because I thought this was something that we should have had last year, but we didn't. And we're just going to go through them. And as we go, I'll just choose someone and we'll rotate around. So we're going to start, as we did last year, with our best developer. Our Developer of the Year award. Chris, who do you give this to?
Oh, you got to read the description
Oh, yeah,
so
that's
people
right.
understand.
Yeah. So for best developer, they didn't necessarily have to put out a game in 2018, but it's someone that made a cool game, supported an existing game, or was awesome to their community, or just did something that made them stand out from the crowd. Chris.
So, my nominees
It's not a nominee, it's your choice.
Rockstar, Bungie, and Ubisoft. Because I don't think anybody else really did a lot. I just don't think they did.
Okay. And who'd you pick?
I think I'd like to say Rockstar, but I think we can go with Ubisoft.
I
Because-
think Ubisoft's the best choice out of the three
Because
listed.
Ubisoft not only did they create 2 pretty damn well received games in Far Cry 5 and Assassin's Creed Odyssey, they definitely forwarded the way people look at Assassin's Creed, and they're constantly evolving that game. But not just that, I go back to Ubisoft, E3. And out of all the showings at E3, Ubisoft had one of the best, especially with the announcement of like Division and everything in the first year being free. I think Ubisoft is a developer that has listened to their core audience and done a damn good job at changing the way they develop and support games based on their player feedback. And I think they've done a great job over the last year, and I'm very much looking forward to 2019. So
That roadmap
Ubisoft.
that roadmap that they had at E3, just kind of showing like here's our first year's
Sure.
plan.
Yeah.
Was that's great. That's
and
incredible.
you know what? And on top of that, they've done a really great job at keeping people very much up to date with a game that I still don't even think is ever going to come out. It's Beyond Good and Evil 2. It's going to come out.
It'll come out, but it's going to be way different than
Sure,
what people are expecting.
but they've done a very good job at like being pretty transparent. It's like, hey, here's what we have now, And 6 months later, they say, "Here's what we have. We know it looks completely different, but this is how the game's evolving." Doing a really good job at that. They're being a really, really great job of being a transparent company.
Yeah.
You can't be 100% transparent because then you're David Blaine.
That was a
I don't know.
Justin.
So for my best developer, I decided to go with Insomniac.
Solid choice.
Spider-Man was great. I loved it. Solid game.
That's
No, but for a developer that has throughout its existence only made original IPs without having to license out to anything else, them getting the Spider-Man franchise or Spider-Man title,
Yeah, the IP.
and knocking it out of the park was awesome. So.
Look at you and your research.
I also
on
think
Insomniac.
I also think they did a really good job, after the game came out, talking about it. I thought one of the moments with a developer that stood out to me this year was when they went on the Kind of Funny Games cast, and they kind of just broke down what development was like and all that. I thought I can't remember the guy that was on the podcast, but the way that he was just so open and transparent about the process and how the team handled the IP, I thought that was really cool. So yeah, solid choice.
Yeah, I think it was really good. They handled Spider-Man very well.
Yeah.
So, what about you, Trey?
For me, it is BioWare. I think BioWare started out this year with Anthem with the odds really stacked against them. I think with all the shit EA's been through in the last 2 years, and the fact that Destiny's just kind of been a roller coaster of emotions this year, I think that a lot of people were counting Anthem and BioWare out, mostly because of EA. But I think they've done a really good job in the second half of the year of being very open and communicative with their fans about what's going on with the game and what it's going to look like, which is totally not something BioWare usually does. And I think
they usually announce a game 3 years early.
Yeah, and then don't talk about it and
Which
then
they've
release
done.
it.
Well,
Yeah.
unfortunately, I'm interested to hear, why would you choose that, especially when they're doing that with Dragon Age?
I don't necessarily know that Dragon Age was their choice. I think that's probably something they did.
Fair enough. Yeah, fair
But
enough.
to as a devil's advocate to my choice, I think part of the reason why they have to do it is because everything is so stacked against them.
Yeah,
I don't think they had the luxury with this game of just being like, we're working on it, goodbye. But I think they've just done a really good job answering questions, communicating with the community, building a community around this game. It's good to see them kind of get ahead of everything, and it's kind of a different BioWare, and I like it. I don't know that we'll see it again for a while, unless they have another MMO or a shared world game coming out. But it's a good start. So yeah. Next up is the Oldie But Goodie Award. This is a game from before 2018 that you played again or for the first time this year. Maybe it's held up really well, or maybe it's just super fun. This is a category for a game you wish you could have given Game of the Year to this year. Chris.
Man, I have a lot down on this one. My nominees
Oh my gosh.
are Borderlands 2, Absolver, Phantom Dust Remaster, GTA Online, Persona 5, and The Division.
You played Persona 5 this year?
Yeah, I did. I tried to get back into it again. I don't know why I can't get into that game. I think because I don't have the time commitment to sit down and play a Persona game like I used to play Persona games.
I feel like if we pulled up the hours for your Red Dead playtime and your Destiny playtime, that would totally disprove that theory.
I don't have time to play Persona 5.
This is where we take you on Maury, and he's like, the test show. That was a lie.
Those are the games that I've played that did not come out this year. And I almost gave it to Absolver because I think that game could have been super great. It was offered as one of the PS Plus games this year.
Which one is Absolver?
So Absolver is done by Devolver Digital. It's one of their only games that's not like top-down pixel.
It's
whatever.
closest to AAA quality.
Yeah. And it's basically a free roam fighter. So you kind of create your own little guy, and it's a 3D fighter. They have a bunch of different fighting styles, blah, blah, blah. It's not bad. I think it would have been a shit ton better if they supported it further after launch. There was a few updates when I downloaded it, but it wasn't like a game. It was almost like they put it out and kind of forgot about it. Mm-hmm. But that game had a lot of potential because it was really fucking cool. But I think I would have given it to The Division because it's a fucking awesome game, but I'm giving it to Borderlands 2.
Good. You gave it to The Division last year.
Yeah, because we started playing Borderlands, me, Everett, and Justin, on our Twos plays before, life got in the way of all of that.
Mm-hmm.
But just the 2 times that we played Borderlands 2 together, I laughed just as hard as I laughed when I first played that game. And it was a shit ton of fun, all of us playing together. That game's so good.
Mm-hmm.
That game is so fucking good.
I feel like it holds up really well too.
Holds up great,
And
man. Because
the art style probably lends itself to that.
Oh,
but
100%.
The comedy and the gameplay of it as well are they're just so solid.
And I stand by the fact that I think Handsome Jack is one of the best video game characters ever created.
Yeah.
He's so fucking funny, and it's just great. It's just good. He's not comedy relief, right? He's not like fucking Kate Six. He's always funny, but he's not comedy relief like Kate is.
Mm-hmm.
He's just a great fucking character.
He's a personification of all the fucked up things in the Borderlands world.
Sure, yeah. So
That's why he works as a villain.
Yeah, exactly. So Borderlands 2 is my oldie but goodie. Everybody should go back and play Borderlands 2, especially if all the rumors that we talked about a couple weeks ago are true.
Yeah.
Yes.
You looked really confused.
I couldn't remember.
We
the
talked
rumors.
about Borderlands 3 like
I remember that
2
now.
weeks ago.
I feel like sometimes we talk about it and then we shit on it that it's not going to happen, and then
No, I mean,
it's going to happen.
you
Right.
can love the game and think Gearbox and Randy Pitchford are total asshats,
That's very true.
that's fair.
which is exactly how it is. I'll go next this time. That way we're moving in a circle.
Oh.
My oldie but goodie. There was 2 choices I had this year because there was 2 games from previous years that I just had a lot of fun with this year and took up a lot of my time. They're both BioWare games, and they're Mass Effect Andromeda and Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. And I think it's
Your Bioware boner showing
yeah.
hard today.
Well, I mean, it's very obviously Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, and the reason why, like, Mass Effect Andromeda is good. Don't get me wrong, but Mass Effect Andromeda is not a perfect game, and it has a lot of flaws that are really obvious. But the thing about Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic is that 10, 15 years later, actually 15 years later, it is still amazing. It's still a game that's worth playing. It's still worth going back to. It's still easily accessible. The fact that a 3D game, a Star Wars game, a RPG, a BioWare game, all 4 of those categories, the fact that they can stand the test of time 15 years later and still be an amazing game is just a testament to, how great BioWare can be.
Sure. Also, the fact that you can fucking play it in bed, which is the way you played it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
I
amazing.
played it on my phone.
Yeah, that's fucking amazing.
Ran great.
It's the future.
So,
Well, the future's here.
and there's a little bit of bias there. I'm not going to lie. I mean, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic is my favorite game of all time, but I really am just so impressed that it's as good as I remember it being. Justin?
So I actually had some trouble with this one.
Did it make you realize you don't play video games?
It made me realize that I didn't play a whole lot of games that didn't come out this year.
Get out of this room.
So I had to go with the one. Funny enough, I haven't played this one yet, but I bought it. Horizon Zero Dawn.
Sure.
It's the only game that did not come out this year that I still really, really wanted to play enough to where I was like, boom. Like, I mean, obviously it was on sale,
Sure.
but there was other games on sale. But that was the one I wanted to buy. The story alone, I've heard it's great. I've managed to avoid spoilers.
Same here.
I still don't really know, but
And not by my choice because I don't give a fuck.
yeah.
But yeah, I have no idea how that game plays out.
Yeah, like as much as Trey loved it last
Actually,
year.
I might. Trey might have told me not for.
No, I didn't. I never told you. I purposely told you so you'd play the game, but
Sure.
that didn't work.
Trey's love for it last year really kind of piqued my interest. So it's a game I want to get around to playing this year, but I just have not yet.
One of my top 5 favorite games of all time, and my game of the year last year. I love Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yeah, I remember that.
Next category, best supported game. This is our new category this year. We live in a digital future. Games come out and change to a point where they are nearly unrecognizable from their state at release. This is a game still being supported by its developer that just keeps getting better and better. The game didn't need to come out in 2018, but its most recent update had to be in the calendar year. This is Pokemon Go. Sorry, I know people have issues. It's not perfect, but the amount of updates that Niantic pushed out this year, the way that they've supported the game, the way that they've adapted the game and listened to their community, the fact that this game is significantly better than the game at launch.
Yeah.
I think it just has everything it has everything that I look for in a best supported game. And it makes me excited to look at the future of this game, because if I'm enjoying it the way that I am now, I mean, Adventure Sync, we talked about this in the last podcast. Adventure Sync is just, it's game changing for me. It made this game relevant for me again, and it made it something that I can actually play, because before I couldn't play it.
I agree. So I've played Pokemon Go since it launched, like day that it came out, years ago. And I really enjoyed it, but I got to a point where I wasn't walking to do anything. I would open it up if I was out eating or somewhere, if I was already somewhere, and I would see what's around me, but I wasn't actively playing Pokemon Go. But now with Adventure Sync in there, I actually care. It's like, I know that as long as I have my phone with me, I'm getting steps. I'm making progress towards something.
And, even if I were to review it today, I'd probably give it a 7. It's not perfect, but just the amount of changes that have happened this year, I'm excited for the future of this game. And that's completely different than how I felt before. Before, I just kind of played it because it was Pokemon, not because I thought it had any good qualities necessarily. So yeah, Pokemon Go is my choice.
I'll go next. So this is another one that I kind of struggled with. It was difficult for me because there are a few games that I continue to play, being Overwatch and Rocket League, that I thoroughly enjoy playing. Psionics.
Last week you literally said you hated Overwatch.
I hate it, but I love it. Last week you said you hated Destiny. I don't want to hear it.
Yeah, but I've never said that I didn't hate it or love it. They're both.
He did literally say I hate it and love it.
I don't believe you.
Everett, roll the tape back.
Overwatch with Taylor.
Oh, how was that?
It's fun. I hate that game so much, but I love it at the same time.
You say that every time.
Anyways, it's a love-hate relationship with Overwatch, but this year I feel like the Blizzard didn't really support Overwatch that much. They didn't do anything groundbreaking, and I know in the past they haven't really done a whole lot either. But even then, it just wasn't there.
I think the issue is that they did support it, but they supported it exactly the same way they supported it the last 2 years.
Yes,
there was
I can agree with
nothing
that.
special about the support for this game this year.
Yeah. So before recording this podcast, we went and ate, and I was talking to Chris, and he kind of helped me think through some things, and then for best supporting game or best supported game. I think best supporting actress. I think I'm going to give it to Destiny 2, actually. Simply for the fact that they have put out a decent amount of content, albeit not for us necessarily, but they're putting out content for the vocal minority that they're hearing. I mean, it's something. They're not just pulling things out of their ass and not listening to their community necessarily. They're not listening to a majority, but they're listening to the part that they hear, if that makes sense. There's content there, but it's just not for us.
Yeah.
So, Destiny 2.
So I'm of two minds of this. I agree with you. I agree with you almost 100%. That I think as a game that has been supported within the last year, Destiny 2 probably is the most apparent, especially with Forsaken. The whole first part of the year, they came out with Warmind and Curse of Osiris. Actually, Curse of Osiris was before this year, wasn't it?
It was December
last year.
There was a lot of mechanic changes this year, too.
And that's my point, is that they really... They didn't turn the game upside down, but they basically turned the game upside down and changed the way this game was played in a time sync standpoint. And the fact that they had the balls to do that to a game is pretty. I'd say that means they want this game to be supported. However, I can't justify it because they aren't listening to the majority of their community. So they're supporting a game for a very small minority of people, and that's not a good way to support a game.
And the way I think about it is, yes, they're gearing it towards these streamers, but the reason these streamers are so successful is because people are watching them.
Of course,
and I think oftentimes we forget that the audience watching them is also technically a part of like this Destiny
Sure.
realm, if that makes sense.
Sure.
Like they're enjoying the game just in a different way.
Sure.
So if Destiny can make it a more enjoyable experience for these streamers, and then having these tens of thousands of people watching, I think that that's still a success in their book, even if they're not necessarily playing.
Okay, first of all, I think that's a solid choice, and I think there are a lot of people out there that would give that choice to this game. The reason why I didn't even consider Destiny for this is because the reality of these updates and the things that they've done is that they're only accessible to a really small majority of the people that are playing the game. Mm-hmm. There's a certain time sink that you have to put into this game in order to get those benefits. And I also think, too, that like if Bungie's learned anything from their game, it's that if they stick to their guns and do what they want to do with the game, they're going to build a community around that. That's exactly what happened with Destiny 1, was that it came out, all these streamers got on it, they hated it, the game died pretty significantly, and then slowly people like King Gathalion and Dado and T-Rex, all these people started like jumping on the game and playing it and supporting it at a time where no one else was playing it. Mm-hmm. And they built that community. I think the problem with Bungie is that these same people that built their community are the same people that have been trashing it, and so they appease them, not realizing that had they just kept going the way they wanted to go and building the game that they wanted to build, a new community would have risen up. And you see little like shadows of that, like the guy that Chris shared on Twitter. I watched that video finally, and he's very much like us. It's not perfect. He doesn't think the game is perfect, but he also sees the flaws and sees how it's slanted significantly to one side of the audience. Mm-hmm. And again, I don't think the audience makes up the majority. In fact, I would venture to guess, with the amount of people that have actually accessed Black Armory, that players like us and the majority of people that just like casual gaming and don't have hundreds of hours put into a game, I think they've gone away. Mm-hmm. And I don't think they're coming back. And I don't think another expansion can save that.
Unless there's some significant changes.
And there won't be, because
12% of the player base was ready for Black Armory when it dropped. 12%.
Yep.
So you made an entire expansion for 12% of your audience.
Is that 12% of
12%
total
of their,
people who
12% of their current audience was at 600.
And none of that is to say that you made the wrong choice. Again, I think that like we could have someone else on this podcast that 100% agrees with you. Mm-hmm. But this is just my reasoning for why I couldn't even consider Destiny 2.
Well, and that's kind of why I had a difficult time, because it's like, I mean, they supported it. Did they support it in like the best, most like fair for all kind of way? Maybe not, but
they sure as hell supported the shit out of it.
Right.
You're right.
Exactly.
No, and that's where I agree with you.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where it's like, if you're going to what's the saying? Like if you're gonna fail like balls to the wall, basically. Like just go all in on something rather than kind of half-ass and give nobody anything. Really.
Sure. And so I can't give it to Destiny. But then I thought to myself, I was like, you know what? They did, what did get supported like right out the bat was Red Dead Online. However, I have a really hard time giving any type of an award to a beta. Right,
Mm-hmm.
There's no way I would have given PUBG an award 2 years ago.
I agree.
So even though Rockstar is doing a pretty damn good job at supporting that game, even after a month after, or 2 weeks after launch of, a week and a half, 2 weeks after launch of their online mode, like 3-4 updates so far, it's like that's pretty fucking good. But I can't give it to a beta. Elder Scrolls Online felt like a cop-out because they came out with Somerset, which is great.
Well, and they just haven't had any other big movement
They just haven't had any movement since that. Battle for Azeroth has a shit ton of content, but man, Blizzard, I think they really screwed the pooch. Fuck the poodle with Battle for Azeroth pretty hard. So I feel like we did this last year, but I gave it to Developer of the Year last year was Digital Extreme. I gave it to Warframe. Yeah. Warframe is consistently being updated, and the fucking amazing part about that game is it's always free. You never have to pay for a Warframe update. Never. Everything is free. They just came out with the next. You remember last year they did Plains of Eidolon, the big open world. Guess what they did this year? Another one, another open world to go, and this time it's a city where you can kind of like fucking
I saw the
hoverboard surf through this giant city.
I think I saw a trailer of it. It looked really cool.
2 or 3 new frames just this year alone. What are they called? Not mega frames.
It's not
Prime frames.
I was going to say Supreme. I was
Always
like,
coming
Supreme.
out with new Prime frames. I just can't imagine how the hell these people still have a job when all this is free.
And it's on Switch.
No, I mean,
that was going to be not my next point.
mean-
It's the silver market. I know. I get it.
You know, it's a free to play game, but for a free to play game, Warframe is pretty expensive.
Yeah, I know. I get it. And then, just to your point, they made a game. Granted, this game can run on a fucking toaster. It looks gorgeous on high-end PCs, but this game can run on the shittiest PC you could possibly have. And they got it on a Switch. It's fucking insane. And it's their turnaround, like PC's their main platform, but their turnaround for these, like the Fortuna update, it's like maybe a month or two after it comes out on PC, it's out on consoles. Fortuna just launched on Switch 2 or 3 days ago. It's like, man, it's fucking insane how great or how well this game is taken care of. And it's still going strong. It's crazy.
How long has it been on console? Like, wasn't it?
I'd say maybe 3 years.
Was it?
Yeah, I'd say maybe 2 to 3 years.
I thought it came out on Xbox like this year. I guess it was.
Maybe 2 to 3 years. I don't know. But yeah, I got to give it to Warframe because that game, to be honest with you, I don't see that game slowing down anytime soon. It's all because of digital extremes. It's just crazy.
I have to admit, I forgot to add a category, so I just added a 7th category.
Oh, snap.
Surprise category!
But I think this is really fitting for this year.
Ultra Game of the Year.
Our new category, surprise category, is Best Video Game Character of the Year. I think 2018
Any
was
character?
from games this year.
And so it doesn't have to be like a protagonist.
I think 2018 is one of the first years where we have like a pretty good pantheon of realistic characters in video games. And I think this is one of the first years where these video game characters have felt superhuman. So it has to be a character from a game this year. It doesn't have to be a protagonist. Chris?
All I'm asking for is some goddamn faith. Dutch fucking Vanderlane. Easily the greatest fucking character in video games. Easy.
It's a good choice.
Dutch fucking Vanderlane. I've never hated and loved a character more in a video game in my life. I've never appreciated the outlook of an evil man so much in a video game. And I've never the last time I felt this much love for just a fucking asshole of a character is Joker in Batman. Last time I've ever felt this way about a villain. It's God, he's so fucking good. Everything he does, whether it seems like it or not, was super well written and calculated, and I can't fault him in anything he's ever done. It's just crazy. He's the flawed villain in Red Dead Redemption. He's the guy that you end up hating by the end, but at the end of this game, I want a game about Dutch. I want a game or a comic or a movie or something about Dutch, because that man, I'd follow him to the end of the earth, just like fucking Arthur.
Well,
And then he'd betray you.
And yeah, sure, but that's the thing is like after all I know, I'd still follow that man to the end of this earth. And it's a video game character, but I'm saying if I was a video game,
Right.
There's no question in my mind I'd follow that man to the end of the earth because I saw you haven't finished it. I saw his end goal. And I still believe, even after the game's over with, that he can reach it. Does that make sense? I know it sounds stupid and I know it sounds weird. And if you're listening to this and you played Red Dead Redemption, you probably think I'm an idiot. However, I totally see Dutch's end goal and it's attainable. If we just had some goddamn faith.
So I haven't quite finished the prologue yet. I'm actually probably going to do that tomorrow.
You're not going to fish it ever.
But I
will just to spite you.
I think Dutch is a great character. I think he's one of the best characters in video games. I think he's one of the best characters of this year. I think, though, I have a hard time empathizing with him in the way that you did. In fact, I can't empathize with him at all. I kept looking for those redeeming qualities about him. I mean, he's obviously very charismatic. But I think for me, that's what makes him a great character, is that he's someone that... Is he blowing up the world? No. Is he, murdering innocent civilians all the time and putting their heads on spikes? No.
He's definitely murdering innocent civilians.
I just mean just in a gratuitous way.
Sure.
I mean, he he is, as much as he does kill innocent civilians, he also has like a pretty strict moral code that he's built this gang on.
An extremely strict moral code.
And it's one of those things that comes up in the games all the time. When you're killing innocent civilians, someone will say something to you.
Yep.
And Dutch will say something to you. He's like, why are you doing this? This isn't how we do our shit.
And that, like, you know me, this is probably maybe personal, but I don't necessarily believe people change. Like, and you, the way you are is the way you are, and you don't really change. There may be some things that you can change about yourself, but your core of being doesn't ever change. So that redeeming quality is the fact that he cared for Sadie at the beginning of the game and saved her, right? Basically saved her. If he really was that bad of a character, he could have just let Micah do whatever he wanted to do with her. But Dutch saved that woman, gave that woman a second chance, in doing that, created another one of the best characters in a fucking video game ever in Sadie. But I get it, right? Especially some of the shit he does.
But I think that's what makes him an interesting character, is that, the point I was driving to is that regardless of his methods, he's a great character because it's very easy to understand him.
Sure.
Dutch's number one goal in anything is himself.
Yeah, Tahiti.
It's Tahiti, yeah. No, but it's himself. He really cares about himself more than anything else. And part of the reason why he cares about the gang is because the gang benefits him.
Yeah, the gang gets him from point A to point B.
Everything that he does in that game is a direct benefit towards him.
Yep.
And I think the fact that he doesn't have this grand scheme, that he isn't someone who is over the top and completely ridiculous, I think that's what makes him a good character and a great villain.
And the fact that he never deviates from that is that's
it's the most consistent writing for a character ever.
Exactly. I mean, sometimes even like Joker and Batman, or just characters in general, they'll take left turns out of nowhere, and you're like, I don't quite understand where that came from. But everything Dutch did in that game, it's just like, oh, I mean, that's of course, it's Dutch.
And typically, I feel like for villains like that, I feel like people who don't necessarily know how to write a great villain like Dutch throw in those things to make them seem more empathetic or make you kind of like them, but it's like it doesn't make sense.
Sure, and so like I'm watching Hell on Wheels, Anson Mount's Western about the railroad, the Central Pacific and the Union Pacific Railroad. But I got to the last season, and it's come down to like Cullen Bohannon versus the Swede. It's been that way since season one. It's this is what's coming to a head. But I finally got to the point where like I think that it's coming to a head. And the beginning of the episode is like 5 minutes showing scenes of the villain, the Swede, like being tortured by Confederate soldiers and being tortured. And like, why are you showing me this? I'm not gonna not hate the Swede just because you show me that he was tortured. I don't care. The things he's done in this show, that's not going to make me feel bad for him when he gets his fucking head blown off by Cullen Bohannon. Right. Yeah. At least what I think is going to happen. What you're saying, the fact that that's being showed makes no sense whatsoever. Just let me hate this character and let it be done with.
Yeah, there's ways you can write it into a backstory and still keep it consistent.
Sure,
like
it's not consistent.
I think of good villains, and I think of like Thanos. Like Thanos, even though he is the villain. I very much
is he though?
I very much see his side of things. Like he's not wrong in the sense that if you had half of the universe's population gone, there would be more resources for everyone else.
Yeah,
and it's the ultimate fairness because he's not eliminating the half that he doesn't like or that he does like. It's just random half.
Sure, yeah.
Well, I'm so we're playing D&D right now, and I'm DMing, and the campaign that we're running, there's a villain, and I let the party choose the villain kind of in an indirect way. And one of the things about that choice that's really hard is that he is very much the villain that has the least amount of resources in the book about him. So there's a lot of things that I've been trying to figure out about him, and when I'm looking at how I'm writing his character, I've really been looking at Dutch. Because I think that what you need from a villain more than anything else is consistency. And whether or not that villain is sympathetic or whether or not that villain has realistic goals or goals that are relatable, I don't think that necessarily matters if you can take everything that villain's done and connect it back to who they are. It's like, oh, he obviously would do this because that's who he is.
Yep.
And once you figure that out, it's suddenly like it makes things click into place.
Yep.
So yeah, Dutch is a solid choice. He's not my choice. My choice is Spider-Man. I very much love Insomniac Spider-Man. Very much love Peter Parker. I've always been a fan of Spider-Man comics. I think Spider-Man is way more interesting supporting characters. But the Insomniac Peter Parker is my favorite version of Peter Parker ever.
Before we go too far in it, that's also my choice. So we can piggyback.
Yeah.
on this.
I love him. And I think the thing that works about him, and I said this in the podcast earlier, is that Peter Parker generally is kind of a boring character because he takes everything in the world, whether it's his fault or not, and he puts the blame on himself. And that is such a boring quality in a hero, because it's every hero. Oh, it's not my fault. It's all my fault. That, you did this thing, but it's my fault. It's fucking boring. And Insomniac plays with that trope in the game where there's something and he's like, this is my fault. I caused this. But then when it's made clear to him as a character that what happened wasn't his fault, that he had nothing to do. In fact, the person that he was trying to protect ended up betraying him and trying to destroy his life. He sheds that. He's like, this isn't my fault. And he strikes out against that common trope about Spider-Man. And it's refreshing.
And I think that plays into one of my favorite things about this Spider-Man is that this is one of the few times that I can think of that we get an older Spider-Man and an older Peter Parker. He's 28 in this game. So I would imagine that
I thought he was 26.
You might be right. It's been like 10 years or something since he first got
Does 2 years matter?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, you're
True question. Does 2 years matter?
the time between 26 and 28 could have been
I'm not
huge.
talking about it like in life. I'm talking about in Peter Parker world.
Probably not.
Okay.
Anyways, that's beside the point. My point being, I think that shows that time has passed in like his character growth as well. This isn't just a different Peter Parker that isn't always taking things on himself and everything is his fault. He's gotten older to the point where he realizes like some shit just isn't my fault, and that's okay. I also appreciated his comedy in this as well. He was very well written. He was very funny. Yeah, it was great. He's a really, really good Peter Parker. I'm glad he's getting his own comic.
I want to see old man Peter Parker.
Like Uncle Ben, like Peter Parker?
No, like old man Logan.
You should see Into the Spider-Verse. I mean, he's not quite that old.
No, I want to see old. I know. I want to see old man Peter Parker.
Into the Spider-Verse is like a late 30s, like rundown Spider-Man, and it's amazing.
Like Mary Jane should like be shot to death, and he has to deal with that, and he's old man Peter Parker, and like just the shit that he goes through.
So he's like actually killing people now?
No, no. I'm just saying how he reacts as an old man Spider-Man, like how Logan was old man Logan. Like that was probably the best version of Wolverine ever in a comic book, because Wolverine's a boring ass character, but old man Logan's pretty fucking cool.
It's true. Just like a really grisly.
Sure, it's probably what made that Logan movie so good, because he was old. He was dealing with all the past shit. I've never seen Logan. I'm just saying.
You've never seen Logan?
Gosh, I think it's on
it's
HBO.
Not on Netflix. Oh, is it on HBO?
I think it's on HBO now.
Because I don't watch movies, dude.
Yeah, but
and I hate Wolverine. I think Wolverine's the worst character ever written in a comic book.
I think you would like Logan.
They also came out with Boom Comics does the Power Rangers comics, and they just came out with something called Soul of the Dragon, which is like it's basically Old Man Tommy. It looks really fucking cool. It's like 40, 50-year-old Tommy Oliver, the Green Ranger, and how he's dealing with, I think, maybe his son's death or something like that. Looks great. Looks so good.
Next category. This is our most underappreciated game. It's a game that came out in 2018. It's really good, but it's going to get lost in the shuffle, and it still deserves some attention. Justin, go ahead.
So for this, I actually chose Detroit Become Human. I feel like it came so first of all, it's a great game. I love the story elements of it. I think it tackles some difficult subject matter, but it does it in kind of like an interesting way.
But do you think it got lost in the shuffle?
I think it does, just because I feel like it doesn't get the attention that it deserved. I don't know, because such great games came out this year. I feel like by the end of the year, it's forgotten because it came out in May.
Sure.
And I was looking at games that came out around it. I mean, God of War came out like basically a month before it, which isn't close enough to where I think it affected it. Sure, they're both PlayStation exclusives. But I don't know. I just feel like it doesn't get the attention it deserves.
I mean, out of the PlayStation exclusives, it's the least
right.
talked about.
I don't fault anyone for enjoying any of the other games more than it.
I think it's standing up against a lot of titans this year. I mean, Red Dead, Spider-Man, God of War. I think even Assassin's Creed Odyssey is a game that a lot of people are looking at for Game of the Year. And I think it falls in that category.
And I think it's easy to forget because, I mean, gameplay wise, it's not a robust game. It's very much just story driven. You're just kind of making. You're basically watching a movie for the most part.
It's hard for me to think a David Cage game is going to get lost in the shuffle.
Well, I think
yeah,
I think David Cage is just one of those people too that like. At the Heavy Rain time, he was kind of seen like a Peter Molyneux figure.
Yeah, sure, totally.
But just like Peter Molyneux, I think as the years have gone on, a lot of people have sort of like stopped holding him up like a pariah.
Sure, yeah.
I think that's part of the reason why it got lost is that it had David Cage's name on it,
and it didn't. I feel like it didn't quite. It's still a great game. I don't think it quite lived up to that idea that. There's infinite possibilities.
Yeah,
right.
I haven't played it yet, but I think my problem with Detroit, Heavy Rain works because the concept is fairly simple.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
You take a simple concept and you expand it. I think with Heavy Rain, it's super complex. And I don't, if you make something complex, something that is complex, more complex, that's not interesting. And I think that's the problem with David Cage is that he started with a really, really good idea and he's slowly making just bigger and bigger complex stories, and it just doesn't work.
Sure.
Or it doesn't work in the same way that Heavy Rain did specifically. Is
Right.
What I mean. That doesn't mean that's a bad game.
No, but that's the obvious comparison.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like just a little underappreciated for what it is. Trey.
I
We keep doing this.
Oh, we could do rock, paper, scissors.
Yeah, we got it. I think this is definitely an underappreciated game for me because I'm not going to be able to get around to it anytime soon. I think Below is a really good game to put in this category. We've been waiting for this game for 4 years at this point. I think it was announced in 2014. It looks amazing. It seems to have everything I like in an indie game. And I think Microsoft kind of screwed it over a little bit by releasing it in December. I mean, it came out on the 14th. Right after Smash Brothers, right after Red Dead, and all these other games that came out this year, I really just don't think it stands a chance. And to me, from what I've seen from it, and from what I've heard people say about it, it seems like a game that really deserves a lot more attention. And had it come out in that May, June, July period, I think it really would have shined in a way that it can't because it came out in December. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Chris.
So. I've played all three of these, surprisingly. So I was, you do the thing where you kind of like write down what games you beat. I thought to myself when we were doing this, like, man, I haven't played any games this year. I played Destiny and Red Dead. To me, that's what it felt like in Assassin's Creed. I've actually played 16 different games this year.
Yeah.
It didn't really dawn on me till I started sitting down. And 3 of the games that I played this year were, to me, pretty fucking awesome.
From this year or just total games?
No, just 3 for this category. I'm sorry.
Okay.
For the underappreciated games. Nominees. Pathfinder Kingmaker is the first game based in the Pathfinder universe. And I think I don't remember who developed it, but they did a really, really, really damn good job of taking what's written in a player's handbook and sticking it straight into a video game. From ability scores to checks to fucking saving throws to everything. Initiative is a thing in this game. So like it's really cool how they take everything we love about what we do on a Thursday night and stuck it into a video game. I thought they did a fucking amazing job.
I think Pathfinder lends itself more to that than D&D because D&D sometimes there's a little bit like
there's some
wiggle room,
sure,
some confusion. Pathfinder's very like we have rules for it.
But that is not my choice.
The developer was Owlcat Games.
There you go.
Owlcat.
But that is not my choice.
Okay.
Second was Battle Chasers Nightboar. So back in the 90s, there was a comic book done by Cliffhanger Comics called Battle Chasers by a fucking amazing artist named Joe Madureira. He is now working in his own gaming studio called Airship Syndicate, and they created this game called Battle Chasers Night War, which Battle Chasers ended at issue number 9. Battle Chasers Night War picks up as soon as that comic book ended, and it was fucking awesome. It took JRPGs, the turn-based combat, made it work. Yet again, you can't break that. It's hard to break JRPG combat. But again, not my choice.
I also have to actually you because it came out in 2017.
Shit, did it really?
October 3rd, 2017.
I thought it came out super early this year.
No.
Sorry, Battle Chasers.
Sorry, you can't be talked about.
Sorry.
Wipe it off the records.
That's really sad. But my choice is a game called Minute.
Really? I haven't heard of this game. I haven't even heard you talk about this game.
So this game took me
A minute?
2 hours to beat.
Okay.
Very quick. Played it on my PC one day when I was waiting for videos to edit, videos to render. It is a game that it's like top-down old Zelda. That's what it looks like. But it's black with white. It could run on a phone. It could run on a fucking toaster if we wanted to.
Looking at the artwork, it looks like a Pokemon like Red, like
yeah, very much, very like old Zelda. But the concept of this game is you play a duck. I think he's a duck. This is kind of early in the year. You play
Looks like a duck.
Play a little duck, and you come out of your little hole, and there's a sword. And as soon as you pick up the sword, you have 60 seconds, and then you die. Every time.
Okay.
So once you die, the game starts over. You come out of your little hole, you pick up the sword, and you have 60 seconds before you die. And so you have 60 seconds to make it further in the game. And every 60 seconds, you're solving the way they do the puzzles. There's puzzles you have to solve. And you can use your dead body to solve these puzzles. But every time you come out of your little hole and as soon as you pick up that sword, you have 60 seconds before you die.
It's like that Tom Cruise movie.
No. Anyway, it's a super crazy, extremely unique game that I don't think I ever would have given the time of day unless I was editing video and got bored on Steam.
What's
Literally.
it called? It's just called Minute?
But it's not
MINIT.
Yeah.
M-I-N-I.
It's funny. So you were describing it, and I'm looking it up. The first thing I click on is a GIF of the game. Basically, it's the full like a 1 minute gameplay.
Yeah, that's all it is.
Yeah.
You grab your little sword and you got a minute to progress further than you did before. You die, and you come back and you do it again. It took me maybe like 2 or 3 hours to finish that game. And it was, it wasn't, I don't think it's groundbreaking. I don't think it's fucking game of the year. I don't think it's, they don't deserve millions of awards for this game, but it was unique enough to where it's like,
Hey.
that was a game that I think people should appreciate a little bit more because it is super unique. Like I said, not groundbreaking, not crazy, but it's super unique.
If you're interested in playing it, it's available on Xbox, PlayStation, and Switch.
It's available on everything, and it's like $10, right? Yeah. How much did I pay
I'm
for
not
it?
sure.
I think I paid like $10 for it.
On
game.
Steam, it's still 10.
Yeah, great game.
Sounds like the kind of game that the underappreciated category was made for.
Yeah, basically. That's why I got it. Man, I feel bad. Battle Chasers didn't come out this year. Sorry, guys.
Oldie but goodie next year. All right, we're getting towards the Meteor Awards. This is our runner-up award, also known as the Heart Award.
This is my fault.
This is a category
100%
that
my
was
fault.
created for Chris because Chris
I
can
get
never
you.
decide on a game.
Can't.
So I made it easy and made a category specifically for Chris. So it's a 2018 that just doesn't cut it for Game of the Year, but you still love it so much. Maybe it doesn't have the polish of a Game of the Year, or maybe it just sucks, but you had a ton of fun with it anyways. Chris, this is your category. Go.
He has a list of like. How
I
many
do. I have a
games?
list of everything except for Game of the Year. There's only one on that. So I can't say Red Dead Redemption 2, spoilers. But I have on there Assassin's Creed Odyssey, God of War, and Spider-Man. I haven't played God of War or Spider-Man, so
I feel like you.
default I have to give it to Assassin's Creed Odyssey because that game's fucking awesome.
I think that's a fair choice.
But if I did play God of War or Spider-Man, I feel like I probably would have given it to Spider-Man, to be completely honest with you. Because I feel like just knowing about... Assassin's Creed Odyssey was great. I'm not taking anything away from that game. I fucking platinumed it. I think it was fucking amazing.
You put like upwards of
80
90
hours, 80, 90 hours into that game. And to me, it was better than Origins in a lot of different ways. But again, like... I feel like if I would have played Spider-Man, I think I would have enjoyed Spider-Man more than Assassin's Creed Odyssey. But I haven't played either one of them, so it's hard. You can't give a Game of the Year award if you've never played the damn game. I don't think you can.
That's fair. Oh, I think you can.
I don't, because you don't have anything to base it off of.
That's true.
Anyway, so I got to give it to Assassin's Creed Odyssey because, again, same thing with Ubisoft earlier. They've done such a good job at evolving their games. Because if you break Assassin's Creed Odyssey down to its fucking bare bones, It's still Assassin's Creed from 2008. You go from point to point on the map and you do the thing at the map. But they've evolved it to where it's still relevant in 2018, and people aren't complaining that it just follows Ubisoft. The term Ubisoft formula hasn't even been used once this year, if I'm recalling right.
Yeah, I
Because
think
the
you're right.
Ubisoft formula is getting better and better every year, and more people are using it.
Well, I think, too, they've done a really good job of adapting it per title, where the formula is still there, but Far Cry doesn't feel like Assassin's Creed, and Assassin's Creed doesn't feel like Watch Dogs.
Sure.
That's fair, yeah.
As opposed to how it was before, when every Ubisoft just felt the same exact way.
Even though even if, like I said, if you do break it down to bare bones, it literally is. They're all Ubisoft.
Yeah.
They're all Ubisoft titles.
Yep.
They're all following the Ubisoft formula. But you're right. None of them feel the same. And I think that's a testament to Ubisoft evolving over the years. I'm super looking forward to next year with Division 2 and and maybe the new Far Cry and maybe another Assassin's Creed. There's a rumor going around. We're going to Greece. So, I'm sorry, not Greece. Rome.
I was like,
We were in Greece.
I was like, wait, what year is this?
Yeah, going to Rome. So we'll see. Yeah, I'm excited.
Rome,
Anyway,
huh?
Assassin's Creed Odyssey.
I feel like Rome was too, for a layman, I feel like Rome would be too similar to Greece.
No, there's a lot more history in Rome than there is when it comes to especially like the fall. There's a lot more history than Greece is considered the birthplace of Western civilization, so I
Right.
think that was a really good spot for this. But the history in Rome and
What's more recorded history too?
well, the impact that Rome had just in general, I feel like, especially with Catholicism and just religion in general, has more of a cultural impact than ancient Greece did.
The Roman Empire was also huge, so you can have a bunch of diverse settings within
yeah.
the Roman Empire.
Huge.
I mean, it was gargantuan.
Yeah.
Half the known world at the time.
Oh, I could. At first, I thought you were being sarcastic and making
No,
fun
no.
of me.
No, I think of the known world at the time, I think Rome inhabited about half of it.
Yeah.
And that's huge.
Yeah.
So,
The known world was just their backyard.
not the
but,
known
you know,
world. The known.
Gotcha.
I just said, did you say gnome?
No, I said known.
The gnome world.
The gnome world.
Anyway, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, Justin, go.
All right. My runner-up is Red Dead Redemption 2.
Spoiler alert. It's mine too.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, so you can piggyback off this as well. Obviously, I haven't finished it yet. Just very, very obviously, I haven't finished it yet. But I will.
You know you won't.
I will.
Nope.
I will, just to spite you. I'm telling you.
No, I don't even think you have the gall to follow through with spite.
I think he's just trying to goad you into finishing it.
Anyways, I thoroughly enjoy this game very, very much.
No, you don't.
I
don't
do.
I don't think you like this game at all.
God, I hate you so much. The story's great. I personally, like, you didn't really talk about it, but I really enjoy the character of Arthur. Like,
I never said Arthur wasn't a fucking
no,
amazing
but
character either.
you love Dutch.
That's because he's the best character of the game.
To be fair, he
fair.
hasn't talked about Red Dead yet.
That's true too.
Yeah.
But Arthur, especially the way that I'm playing him, as far as like, I'm not like, I don't know, I haven't talked to anybody who's playing him just straight bad, but I love playing good guy Arthur, who's just kind of doing what he needs to do, but still really respects Dutch and kind of his vision and his goal. And I love his storyline with Mary. It's a great game. I love it. I love just being in the world itself. It's a well-crafted world. I haven't gotten too distracted by just the random stuff to do. I really just enjoy doing the missions. I'm not big on like the hunting and stuff, but that's just me. What do you love about this game?
Yeah, I mean, Red Dead Redemption 2 is one of the best games ever made. It is by far one of the most polished games ever made, and it's fantastic in almost every way. The thing about Red Dead, though, because this wasn't easy for me. I've been thinking about this for quite a while because I've known this was coming up. But the thing about Red Dead that sets it apart from my game of the year is that I really wanted to play through the story and see how the story ended. And I've been in a really interesting place since finishing chapter 6, because although I know that there's like a whole story there afterwards and there's more to do, I'm having a hard time convincing myself to go back. And I think that has a lot to do with the major flaw that this game has. And so Is it okay if I go into a light spoiler or a major spoiler?
It's up to him.
That's fine.
I think you already know the spoiler.
That's fine.
Are you okay with this, Ev? Okay.
I feel like it's on me if I don't know it by now.
I think one of the problems with this game and one of the reasons why it doesn't necessarily stand out to me in the way it should is because they do the same thing they did with Red Dead Redemption 1. The game ends and you're playing as a different protagonist. And whatever circumstances led you there, whatever, I don't need to say that. But it feels like they stretched out the end of this game because they needed to let players explore the world more to accomplish things, and not necessarily because it was the best thing for the game. I know that there is some, there are stories that get wrapped up, and there's some, I'm forgetting the word, but you know, there are some things questions that get answered and things that you're able to kind of tie up a nice bow and leave there. But ultimately, like, it feels like a trick they've played before, and I don't think it plays off as well as it did the first time. And honestly, like, I think to a certain degree, I know that with the way that Arthur's story kind of goes, that he can't get the kind of closure that you necessarily need for a good story. But I think that kind of letting that closure sit at the end and passing it off to a different character is kind of sad for me as someone who really loved Arthur as a character. So I would highly recommend this to anyone, and I think every person that gives this game Game of the Year, it totally deserves it. I think that it deserves a place on everyone's top 5 favorite games list. There are a lot of good things that I have about it, but I have a hard time reconciling the end and the fact that the end kind of dropped off my desire to play this game even more. And if it had just ended at chapter 6 and there was nothing afterwards, or if the stuff that happened after the game became was DLC or something, I think I might have felt differently. Mm-hmm. But I just don't like that they pulled the same trick again, and it would have worked really well had they hadn't pulled it the first time.
Yeah, I swapped my runner-up and my Game of the Year back and forth a couple times.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
But this was
not.
This was I would say the game that made me consider my actions more heavily than any other game. Like,
that's true.
I've never cared about like killing a random NPC before until like this game.
Yeah. Not to steal Chris's thunder, because we're going to have a long conversation about Red Dead in just a couple minutes. But I think it's time we move on to the Game of the Year.
Yes.
All right. Game of the Year. This is pretty self-explanatory. Maybe you didn't play it. Maybe you did. Just come to the table with some solid knowledge and be able to back it up. This is a game that's truly exceptional. It will stand the test of time. A game that you can point back to 5 years from now and say, that was the best game of 2018. And it encapsulated everything that was good about 2018 in it. My choice for this was Spider-Man. I don't necessarily believe that Spider-Man is a better game than Red Dead Redemption, but Spider-Man was a game that I could not put down. And it really has that external bias to it, because I have always connected really well with the world of Spider-Man, and I love the way they treated that world, the respect that Insomniac showed it. I couldn't put the game down. It was so good.
Yeah. Obviously, no surprise. My Game of the Year, also Spider-Man.
We're the same person.
It kind of came down to my thinking of
the fact that you actually don't like Red Dead Redemption.
No, it came down to which one did I spend, or would I have spent $400 on? It was Spider-Man. Spider-Man made me buy a PlayStation, whereas if Red Dead was a console exclusive, I didn't have a PlayStation, I don't know if I would have bought a PlayStation for it. Maybe after like the reviews came out and everyone's saying how amazing it is, sure. But like Spider-Man just had me immediately. I know the game is a lot shorter, much shorter, but I was much more motivated to get through the story than I am with Red Dead. Not to say that Red Dead is bad. Like Trey said, it's great. I think the story is probably better than Spider-Man. It's definitely more complex. But with Spider-Man, I was motivated more than I have been to finish a game and enjoy the story than I felt with any other game.
Well, and I think, too, that part of the thing about Red Dead is because of its length, it's able to have a bunch of impactful moments spread out to it, and maybe more than Spider-Man has. But when I sat down and really thought about Spider-Man and I thought about the impactful moments, they're just as good as impactful moments in Red Dead. And I think part of that is you're never going to be able to separate these like a person's love for Spider-Man from their love for this game.
Yes, there's definitely a lot of personal bias that goes into this decision.
I was going to say, this is why I don't like the term runner-up or game of the year. I like the term heart award and mind award, because this should be y'all's heart award. If you're looking at it non-objectively, you guys can. I totally agree with everything you guys are saying. But objectively, you know how I feel about a game of the year. If you're going to give something a game of the year, it should have done everything in its power to forward gaming in a way that we've never seen before, which is why in 2015 I gave it to The Witcher, even though I hated that game in 2015. I absolutely despised The Witcher 3 in 2015, but I still gave it game of the year because that game deserved game of the year. I'm not saying Spider-Man doesn't deserve game of the year.
No, I get your argument.
In the future, I think runner-up and game of the year. Maybe we just call it the heart award and the mind award.
But I think that it's very much heart and mind because I really loved Red Dead Redemption. But
but in your mind,
but I can't reconcile the fact that like the ending of that game for me was not good. And in fact, like it killed a lot of the momentum that I had for that game. I really don't like the way that it ends and then wraps up with someone else and how much closure Arthur doesn't get. I think that's a major problem for that game. But when I look at Spider-Man and I look at it objectively and I separate, a lot of the great things that Red Dead Redemption did, for the gaming industry, when I separate that from the argument, the question comes down to which game did I really have a better time with and which game do I think impacted the industry in an indirect way and in a healthy way. And I think that's Spider-Man. And what I mean by indirect but healthy way, Spider-Man kind of proved that there is space in video games for other IP to come in and be successful.
Sure.
The fact that I can sit here and feel like my game of the year, the game that I think is the best game and that represents 2018 in a really good way, is a superhero game.
Sure, which was
just really weird.
Which is why when I want to let you speak, but before you started speaking is what
I'm gonna let you talk. Beyonce had the best video of the
which
year.
was going to be my final point in all of this is that if a game did anything this year to make it seem like superhero games can exist and not be Batman, Insomniac proved it with Spider-Man. Right. Because over the last when did Arkham City come out?
2016.
Arkham City.
Oh, Arkham City or
Arkham City.
Knight?
When did Arkham City come out?
2012.
Follow me, people. Okay. So Arkham City, that was... My point being is that there hasn't been a good superhero game since Arkham. And Spider-Man finally did it.
Right.
They nailed it. And so my point was going to be in forwarding the video game community, forwarding video games and what 2011 and what we're looking in the future. It's not just Batman anymore. Batman was good because it was Batman. Everybody likes Batman. Batman Arkham City wasn't that great of a game. The battle system was fine, but City wasn't that good. It evolved into... I'm sorry. I'm thinking of Arkham Asylum. Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, Arkham Knight.
I thought that's where you were going.
Sorry, yeah. So Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, Arkham Knight, it got better and better and better, but it was still a Batman game. And technically they were pretty, but they didn't... 2009. Technically they were pretty, but they didn't do a lot.
Right.
Because it's Batman. Of course Batman's going to be good. Yeah. But you take something like Spider-Man, which of course, granted, everybody loves, but it's another superhero game that finally worked. It's another game that broke into that AAA stratosphere and worked. Yep. Finally. We had this conversation about Spider-Man. I think we were in that room for some reason. I don't remember why, but I feel like we were in Studio B. We had a conversation about Spider-Man, and I feel like I'm so happy that Spider-Man exists because it shows that a game like maybe Superman can exist, or a game, that's not, a super awesome character like Batman can exist in a video game world, and it works. So yeah, I mean, I agree with you guys 100%.
Right.
And the other thing too, I just want to stress this too, a lot of times when you look at the game of the years that I've chosen in the past 3 or 4 years that we've done this,
they have nothing to do with, I'm sorry, go ahead.
They usually have nothing to do with this is the biggest thing for the industry, best technology.
They're your favorite games of the year.
They're my favorite games of the year.
That's how you choose it.
But a lot of times they're very story focused. And Red Dead has a great story, but I think that my love for Red Dead clouded my judgment a little bit because looking back on Spider-Man's story, I just can't get over how good it was. And it's really easy to forget about that when you look at it next to this titan that's Red Dead Redemption. But the story was incredible. Every minute of the story was good. The character interaction was great. Maybe not always as good as it was in Red Dead, but you know, Peter's relationship with Aunt May and Mary Jane and Dr. Octavius, these are all things that like I was not expecting to play off in a video game the way that it did. So for my personal qualifications, it meets it. Meets the things that I usually pick.
Yeah, and like I said, I switched back and forth, and ultimately it came down to the fact that had I needed to do it again, I would.
You don't like Red Dead Redemption.
Exactly, I hate Red Dead Redemption.
You said it. Someone turned it into a sound gif.
Sound gif,
Audio bite,
sound bit,
sound bit.
I don't know.
Something that plays on repeat all the time.
I would pay
calls me-
$400 for Spider-Man.
When somebody
again.
calls me,
I hate Red Dead
I
Redemption.
hate Red Dead Redemption. I hate Red Dead Redemption.
Exactly. I
hate Red Dead Redemption.
Can you auto tune it?
Probably. That'd be badass.
All right. Speaking
And-
of, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, let's talk about Chris's game of the year now.
So, of course, no surprise whatsoever. It's Fallout 76.
I knew it.
There it is.
Are you sure it's not Pokemon
can't-
Let's Go
I
Pikachu?
can't
Destiny
applaud
2?
Bethesda for taking a step forward and trying something new so much more than I can. You think I think I'm joking? I'm 100% serious.
No, you're not.
Yeah, dude, you can't fault Bethesda for taking a step forward and trying something new. Did they fail at it? 100%.
All right, here we go.
I'm kidding.
It was like the part that betrayed you was your tone.
Yeah, of course it was. It's Red Dead Redemption.
Yeah, there it is. There it is.
I couldn't.
Here it is.
And this is not to start any sort of fight. I can't disagree with you more about the story. I think if Red Dead Redemption was a movie, it'd be the ultimate movie. It would have been
The ultimate.
I would have been the ultimate story ever told in cinema. It would, if it was a book, it would be probably the greatest story ever written in a book.
You know, it's funny.
That's a false statement.
You know, it's funny. If it was a movie, you would not have seen it.
I would have waited till it came out on Netflix. You're
No,
100%
you wouldn't
right.
have even watched it on Netflix.
No, it's a Western. Yes, I would have. I've seen pretty much every single Western that's ever come out.
Okay, I assumed. Last I was told, no
You
lightsabers.
didn't watch movies.
No lightsabers. No Chris.
Yeah, you're not wrong. But I also said swords.
Okay.
No swords or lightsabers. I don't watch it.
That's
And
fair.
in 1899, it's only like 30, 40 years after the Civil War, they use swords.
I could use a sword right now. I mean, Anyways, go
Yeah,
on.
I couldn't. I just can't disagree with you more about the story. I think if you took it out of a video game setting, which is why I think this game shines so bright, is that if you took it out of a video game setting, it would work on any single medium. People would not have a problem with the end of chapter 6 going into the epilogue because it's a story that's being told. Take off your I'm the video gamer and I'm not saying you guys are saying this, but take off your I'm the video gamer glasses and I deserve this ending or I deserve this or I think this should have happened or we don't say that about movies. When a movie most people don't say that about movies.
I mean, I don't know who you're talking to about movies.
Yeah, most people don't say this
I
about
would've done
movies,
this.
but most people just accept the ending and the story of a movie. And they accept it, and that's what they base their judgment off of.
right. They chalk it up to that's the story that they wanted to tell.
That's the story they wanted to tell. When it comes to video games, we have such, and this is a fault of Rockstar, right? You have the choice to do a lot of stuff in this game. The choice is presented in front of you. Be good, be bad, kill, don't kill, talk to, don't talk to. All these choices, honor, low honor, high honor, it's all there. The choice is there, albeit it doesn't really affect your gameplay too much, but it's always there.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that they put that choice in there, I think very much made players think that this was a, player choice based story, and it's not. It's 100% not. Rockstar has you by the balls from when you're in that snow in Amberino all the way to New Austin as your new protagonist. Can I just say who it is?
Sure. I already know who it is.
Okay, so when you're in Amberino, they've got you by the balls.
Spoilers if you don't know.
And they've got you all the way to New Austin by the balls. And you just have to sit back and enjoy it. You got to go into this game realizing that they're telling you one of the best stories ever written in a video game.
Well, I mean,
And if you can separate yourself from that and understand that this is a narrative that's being driven through this player interaction, then I don't see how anybody would have a problem with these endings.
let me be 100% clear. At no point did I ever say the story was bad. I still think it's
No,
one of the
I'm
best
not
stories.
saying- I never said that you did.
I just want to be clear to the listeners, like, I still think it's a great story. I still think it's one of the best stories told in video games, and I'm none of my issues with its ending take anything away from that. And I still would recommend it to anyone. Like I said, I think it should be in everyone's top 5 favorite games list. But I had 2 major issues with just the regular story. The first issue is that, like, the way that chapters 1 through 3 are so formulaic, and the way that they start and the way that they end. Sure, the middle is a little bit different on each one, but I think that wasn't necessary. I think that would be the one thing that would stop it from necessarily working in any other medium, because that is the most video gamey thing about it, and it can be immersion breaking sometimes. At least it was for me up until
the fact that like chapter 1 and 2 are nothing but tutorials.
More that it's like, hey, we moved and we settled this place. We're getting settled and we're introducing you to this setting. Oh, shit goes wrong and now we got to go.
Yeah.
And then the next chapter starts that way. And then the next chapter ends that way. And it doesn't really stop until, the end of chapter 3. And then again, with that ending, it's not necessarily that I think the ending's bad or anything. It's just that, and it's not that I wanted it to be completely different. I really think that had the game ended with chapter 6 just the way that it did, I probably would have felt a little bit more strongly about it, even if Arthur didn't get some of the closure that I wanted him to. And I'm not saying, I haven't played the epilogue yet. And maybe the epilogue will change everything.
But right there is my exact point. Arthur got all the closure that he needed.
I think he got a lot of closure, but I don't think he got some of the closure that I wanted him to.
Why do you feel like why do you feel like he deserved more closure? Because he was your character?
No, I feel like he deserved more closure because the game is sort of like leading up to this. He has that moment with Dutch at the end, but that moment with Dutch I don't think gives Arthur anything that he needs. Like, in fact, I think it makes him a more sympathetic character because he leaves not getting what he needs from Dutch. And maybe that's really sad, and maybe that works from a literary standpoint. But I think that when you're looking at just some of the core tenets in good storytelling, I think having that moment where the character finally sees their mentor for who they are is a really important thing on that hero's journey. And I don't think he gets that.
I think he does, especially in the oil field when they're trying to steal the documents and Arthur's about to get stabbed and Dutch walks away. Mm-hmm. That moment right there is the turning point, which exactly what you're talking about. It's that moment.
I think
and the closure for Arthur doesn't need to be any more than John surviving.
But
that's it.
I think that the problem with that moment and why it's not closure in my mind is that, again, these are just 2 different perspectives on the same story. No one's right or wrong. But I think that it solidifies the conflict. I think that's the first time where Arthur is 100% certain of what's going on.
Right.
But he still is looking for Dutch's love, and he's still looking for Dutch's loyalty in spite of the shitty thing that Dutch did to him. In fact, he never confronts Dutch really about it. There's never a moment where he goes to Dutch. He's like, what the fuck is going on? He calls him out, but that moment is skipped over just like that.
Sure, but you've got to understand that, like, Arthur and Dutch are father and son. Imagine you're in that position and it was your dad who did that to you. Would you ever in a million years stop looking for affirmation from your father? Absolutely not.
But that's my thing, is that I think that last moment of the game would have been a really good point just to calm down for a second and have Arthur leave with those questions answered.
But that's the thing, is like the conflict was, and to me, the conflict was resolved. Dutch is a bad person. Dutch is going to betray me and Dutch doesn't care about me, but he's still my dad. I think he's still my father. And so, okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Not to destroy this conversation or to downplay your side.
We might be saying the same damn thing.
No. Oh, I think that this is very much a personification of the way that you and I look at the world.
Maybe
I think
it is.
That for me, I need those words. I need a conversation to happen.
Yeah,
to
maybe
explain
it
what
is.
happened. And for you take actions very literally.
Yeah, maybe. And so, like, to me, the only redemption, right? That's the whole point of both these games, which I'll get to in a second. The only redemption that Arthur ever needed and perfectly closes the story is the fact that John got away with his life and his family. That right there, everything bad that Arthur ever did in his entire life was redeemed because he was the reason John got away. And that right there is, I mean, you don't need anything else in that. You don't. Arthur does not need to survive to make this even better. Well, he doesn't need answers. He doesn't need closure. He doesn't need all of it because his as soon as Dutch walks away from him in that mill or that oil field, whatever that was, he made the decision. I'm getting as many people out of this as I possibly can. And he did. He saves Charles, he saves Sadie, and he saves John.
Well, and I think you're right. I would agree with that. I would agree with that. I think you're right. I think that the redemption part of his story is very much in John and secondarily in every other character.
That he gets out.
I still, again, and going back to how I started this conversation, while I wish Arthur had gotten more closure, while I wish he had gotten more closure, I would have been okay if it had just ended with chapter 6.
Sure. Oh man, can you imagine the shitstorm if the epilogue was DLC? Yeah. I can.
I mean, it would have caused a shitstorm.
Yeah.
But I think that chapters 1 through 6, it's a story and it's good, and it could have ended that way.
We've had this conversation before. I also would have been okay if the epilogue was DLC.
And I also think too that had Red Dead Redemption 1 not pulled the same exact bullshit, maybe that it would have played off a little bit better. But it was really disappointing for me as a player to get the exact ending I was expecting. Not necessarily in the way that I expected it, but to get the exact ending I was expecting.
So that leads into at least my point with the epilogue.
Yeah.
Is do they switch protagonists? Sure. Is that what they did in Red Dead Redemption 1? Sure, it is. Nowhere near the same. Not even close to being the same.
Oh, definitely. I'm definitely not saying that.
Yeah, just because the epilogue takes you into John's shoes and you have these moments that are so nostalgic because you start right, sun sets, screen fades to black. Next thing you know, the fades in, and John and Abigail and Jack are on a wagon, and you're just moseying along. You're heading to Strawberry. Like, what the fuck's going on? And you kind of go through this hour or two of John finding a job and doing all these things and becoming a rancher, learning. So that, right, John becomes a rancher. It's like, well, in Red Dead 1, he's a rancher. Where does he learn all this? Here you go. This is where he's learning it. And there's moments where it's like, there's a moment when Abby gets him a shirt, and it's the undershirt for his normal cowboy outfit in Red Dead 1. So there's a moment when he puts the outfit on and he walks out the front door in the Red Dead Redemption 1 John Marston outfit. And this like Gene Autry song, Willie Nelson's playing in the background. Super happy cowboy song, the sun shining down. And it is such a cool moment because it's like, fucking John Marston. That's the character that I fell in love with in 2011, 2010. I don't remember when I did.
Gosh, 2000.
It's John fucking Marston. That's awesome. And then it's like, it's got to be over. Nope. Keep on going. Oh shit. I'm going to find out how John gets his ranch. I'm going to find out how John does all these things. And literally and this, God damn it. This is such good storytelling.
Be careful. I don't want any, I'm still going to finish.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. You find all these things out and you do these things and you do these things with John and it's so fucking good. I'm about to spoil Red Dead 1. Sorry guys. You have all these things about John and he gets the ranch and it's just happy. Right. And then Red Dead 1 rolls around and then shit hits the fan again. And sorry for Red Dead 1. John dies. He's shot to death in Red Dead 1. And before that happens, before Abigail dies in Red Dead 1, she fucking begs Jack, please don't end up like your father. John dies. Red Dead 1 end happens. Jack goes and he's trying to find Edgar Ross to kill him.
Mm-hmm.
Jack becomes John. And literally, something that happened in 2010, you said?
10, yeah, he's right.
2010, Rockstar couldn't have planned this. There's no way. They might have, but there's no way. It's so fucking good. Jack becoming a gunslinger negated everything Arthur did.
Mm-hmm.
Everything.
Well,
everything Arthur worked for in Chapter 6 toward the end. Everything Arthur did to save John Marston and his fucking family was negated because Jack ended up like all of them. Holy fucking shit, dude. That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that Rockstar did that in a prequel, they took an already existing game that maybe they had this idea from the beginning. I have no fucking clue.
Well, according to God, what's the name of the lead writer? Dan Houser, he said that from the moment that they started working on Red Dead Redemption 1, he knew that Arthur was a character that existed in John's past.
See, that's really fucking cool.
That's what he says. Whether or not it's true.
Whether or not they had this entire thing planned out, where this whole game based around redemption, because that's a whole, it's both these games. They're both called Red Dead Redemption. Redemption is the single solitary thing in both these games. Arthur's looking for redemption because of his past. John's looking for redemption because of his past, and he fucking almost achieves it. And his past catches up to him, just like Arthur. And so the beginning of it, everything Arthur, and Arthur's one of the best characters in video games too, by the way. You asked me that earlier. Hands down, one of the best protagonists in video games, especially a Rockstar game. But it's heartbreaking and fucking amazing that Dan Houser and his team were able to take a prequel and work it so well into an already existing game to the point where when you really sit down and you think about it, it's like, holy shit, the fact that Jack Marston became just like his father not only negated everything his parents asked him to do, but it negated everything that fucking Uncle Arthur did for him. Holy shit, man. God damn it, the writing in that game's so fucking good.
Yeah.
I cannot get over how good this game is. I can't. I don't even want to get into gameplay because it's great. I love the clunkiness of the gunplay. I've said it before, as long as there's something overshadowing annoyingness, I'll always get over the annoyingness. Rockstar games are dumb, right? To walk in a Rockstar game, why can't I just stop? Why do I have to take 2 extra steps to keep when it stops? It doesn't make sense. I'm okay with it. Because every time I boot up this game, I am transported back to 1899. I'm transported back to 1899 in one of my favorite fucking time periods of history ever. And I cannot get over how good this game is. I just cannot. I will think about this game and the story of this game and everything that I'll ever do. Because it's so fucking good. There's so many little nuances in this game. And I was talking to Trey about this. I don't know if I brought it up, but every single character in Red Dead Redemption, I can relate to because I know somebody like them.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Every fucking person. Charles reminds me of Everett to a fucking T. The absolute most loyal person you could possibly think of who will go with you through shitstorms and back. And he's there. Everett. Lenny, who's
also incredibly hard-headed.
Yeah, Lenny, who's a kid. You know, we were talking about this. Our age difference is ridiculous, Justin. You were 6 when the towers fell, right? I was a junior in high school when the towers fell. You were 6, 5
or 7.
It's fucking crazy. But I see you as Lenny. I 100% see you as Lenny because you are the young kid that you're just ready to help. You're always there to help. You're fucking awesome. You're somebody that I can depend on. And I not to sound like a fucking egotistical maniac, but I see myself as Arthur. Like I think like Arthur. I am an asshole like Arthur. I just in general, I feel like I'm Arthur. And it's like, I just can relate to him and Dutch so well. That it's just ridiculous. Anyway, all my friends, every single one of my friends, Whitney and Sandy remind me so much of Sadie Adler. And it's just like, I can relate to every single one of these characters because this is one of the first games, I think ever, that I've ever played where it's like, that's an actual human being. Of course, they're not actual human beings. They're video game characters, but that fucking Javier is an actual human being. He's a guy that had to go through persecution because he's a Mexican, and you can see it in him. Sadie Adler had to go through fucking hell and back, and you can see it. And I can see it in her just like I see it in, somebody like Sandy or Whitney. I see it all. And it's fucking crazy how a video game has done that for me. That can't be everybody. It can't. There's probably some people in this world that they just don't get it. They don't see that, right? They don't compare this character to this character, this character to this character. They can't. Maybe they don't know people like it, or they've never been through life or whatever the hell it is. Some people may not see it. Some people probably disagree with me on a narrative standpoint. They probably think that's terrible. The fact that Arthur's actions are completely negated because of Jack in the ending of Red Dead 1. They probably hate that. But to me, that's damn good storytelling, man. That not everything has to end up good. And some of the best stories end bad. They just do.
It's true.
And oh man, I can't get over how good this game is.
Yeah.
There you go.
So that's why
Game of the
Fallout
year.
76 is my game of the year.
All right. So every year we do predictions for the upcoming gaming year. But first, before we go into our predictions for 2019,
Word from our sponsor, Raising Cane's.
word from our sponsor,
Damn it.
Audible.
I really wish
Just
it
kidding.
was Raising
Audible
Cane's.
sponsor us.
Raising Cane's sponsor us.
But we're gonna go through our predictions from leading into 2018.
Oh God,
and
how wrong we were.
See who got the closest.
I still don't count that one that you count.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Not this argument.
Justin,
Again. Sure.
let's go through yours because yours are.
Oh,
really
young
easy.
Justin.
Prediction number 1 was Kingdom Hearts 3 is coming out this year, and it'll not meet people's expectations. That was wrong. Number 2.
Can I be like the opposite of Game Jesus? Can stuff just get like
Can
a
you be
stamp?
Can you be Game Judas?
No, that's not good enough. Game Peter.
Loot boxes will exist, and they will stop being a big story this year. That was wrong.
Is it though?
No, 2018 was like the year of the loot box blow up.
Was
it
it?
was huge. Yeah, that wasn't last year. That was this year,
Loot boxes have continued to be a problem throughout the year,
and it was
never went
and it was
away.
bigger this year.
Yeah. Last one.
Half right.
The DS brand is going to be phased out publicly. While the DS brand is going away, the reality is that Nintendo swears they're still supporting it for as long as they can support it.
I still stand
So-
by that one.
I mean,
Put it in 2019.
yeah.
Sure, I kick it along.
I'll save our off the wall predictions for after we go through. So Justin's sitting at a big fat 0 points.
No, 0.5. I'll give him the fact that loot boxes still exist.
Nope. There are 0.5s. There are 0.5s, but that was not one of them.
Games still exist.
All right, Chris.
There will be games.
Chris's one of the 2 big Bethesda games will get an announcement. So, and you were talking specifically about Fallout. And Elder Scrolls.
They both
2
got
points?
announced.
And
No.
we won't see it this year.
I was right about Elder Scrolls, but not Fallout.
I'm going to give you a 0.5 for that.
Uh,
Because you were technically right on both accounts, but you specifically were like, 1 is going to come out in the near future,
Sure.
and it's not coming out this year.
Sure.
Fallout got announced, and it came out this year.
to rounding game of the year.
Your second one was Destiny 2 is dead.
I would stand by that. Out of their initial player base, they're down to 7% of that player base playing on a daily basis.
I think predicting it from
7%
predicting it from the beginning of this year, I would say that you're correct.
I think you're wrong, because I think that the public outlook on that game is that it's never been better. Whether or not
that's not the public outlook.
that's literally the way people are talking about this game.
No, that is the way streamers and their little fucking lackeys are talking about this game, which is 7% of the audience.
Yeah, but they're also how many people are watching these streams?
93% of their audience is gone and or still kind of sticking around trying to figure out if it's worth playing anymore. 93%.
I don't think Destiny 2 is dead. They're still supporting it. They still plans to support it in the future.
We've talked about this before. A game doesn't have to have their developer support to be dead. We've talked about this before. It's the same thing with PUBG.
I think that when you were talking about being dead, it was kind of like a place where, I mean, I don't know. If you guys want to say it counts, but I really don't think it counts. I think that public perception on this game is more positive than it's ever been, and whether or not the player base like actually represents the way that people are viewing it, I think if you ask the average person, like, is Destiny 2 dead? Is it never going to recover from this? I think the average person would be like, what the fuck are you talking about?
I would give it a half point. At least. Because even if public perception is that the game has never been better.
Which is
they're not playing it.
Especially with Black Armory. It's just not.
But I think it's easy to say, like, it's really good. Like, do you play it?
There's a reason less than a week after Black Armory came out, they lowered the required light level of the forges. Yeah. If it was in the best place it ever has, that wouldn't have been a thing.
I mean, I also don't think that. I think that leading up to, first of all, it had a heavy hit when Red Dead came out. But I think that leading up to November, it was still in a pretty strong spot. I don't think that December, it could be dead in 2019, but I don't think it would be considered dead now. But that's just me.
I do personally.
You get to
me, when you only have 7% of your initial player base still playing, and it's a game that you support fully and outright, you've is it dead? Is nobody playing it? Should they shut the servers down? Absolutely not. But compared to initial launch of Destiny 2, which is what I mean, same thing with PUBG. To me, PUBG's dead. Nobody fucking talks about that game anymore.
I mean, I think just the fact that y'all
PUBG
don't
is
even
dead.
play it.
But I agree. I think PUBG is a game that the general public doesn't care about.
But I bet if there was like a PUBG tracker, oh my god, I wish I could
bet
see
PUBG
this.
has more players than Destiny 2.
Right.
I would agree with you, especially since it just launched on PS4. However, the thing is that Destiny stories are still at the top of fucking news items. People still give a shit about that game. Streamers still get hundreds of thousands of views on all their shit. The videos on YouTube still get millions of views. I think that if you're talking about dead, I think public interest plays a big part in whether or not something's dead.
Possibly. I think numbers speak much louder than public interest because I still watch all these videos. I still watch the world's first because I'm interested. I still watch, streamer YouTube videos because I'm interested. It doesn't mean I'm playing it. I can't play it. I literally cannot play it, and that's Bungie's fault for killing it. I just, I'm not arguing for a point. I'm just arguing I'm not arguing for a point in the system, a number. I'm arguing just my point. Like when you've got, if WoW would have dropped to 7% of their initial player base, oh my God.
I mean, just
imagine
based off of the data that I have, just the way that I'm looking at this, I would say, first of all, I would agree to have a point. I think you're not wrong, but I think that this is more of an indicator for what could happen in the future. I think that if I were betting on this, I would bet in the way of Destiny 2 is dying, especially when, like you said, when you pull up the numbers. Sure. And I think that December is the start of that death.
And then June's announcement of Destiny 3 is going to kill it even harder.
Let's just say it's a medically induced coma. It's,
yeah.
It's on life
It's
support.
a vegetable right now.
It's not. Yeah, it's not going anywhere anytime soon.
I'm sorry. Apparently, that's insensitive to say now. Like you're in a vegetable state, in a vegetative state.
Whatever.
Apparently, that's very insensitive. I didn't know that. So I apologize. If
I have
anybody
no
was
patience for things anymore.
If anybody was offended, I don't apologize. That's just what they call it.
Well, I mean,
that's what they call it. Okay. Apologizing. That's what they call.
I've heard of this newfangled thing called apologizing for actions. I'm not sure if I'm a fan of it or not.
But us Americans, we don't really mean anything by it. It's just something we say to get away with anything.
Your last prediction was E3 is also going to die.
Hey,
2 more
Sony.
years. 2 more years.
Yeah, I mean, I think
Sony's.
I think this year that's not the case. I think E3 was significantly bigger, and I think E3 is changing into more of a public show. But
I feel like I'm not arguing for a point.
But I think next year might be like the start of that.
You listen to it. I feel like I talked about this a little bit, and I felt like I said E3 is the way we used to know it is dying, which I think is 100% a thing. Sony pulling out of this year's E3, it's because I guarantee you they're going to concentrate on PSX. Because why go to we've talked about this before, why go to this thing and spend money on this thing when they don't have control over what they want to show, really?
And not only that, why share the stage with people who might
show
you up? Whenever
which,
it's like, you can
I think the reason your specific point is that the amount of attention that was shown at E3 and the way that E3 is usually pretty big is going to be spread out throughout the year.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
And I think that's partially true.
At least next year will be.
But I think next year will definitely be true. I think Sony's that first vanguard of that. But I think that E3 was still that time of the year where.
See, I can't say that again because now we know. Like Sony pulling out, I guarantee you after another year, Microsoft might pull out.
Would you have thought though that like at the beginning of this year, I don't think any of us would have made the prediction that Sony wouldn't be there next year.
100% not. I think maybe after
seeing E3.
After seeing E3 this year, I wasn't surprised when Sony pulled out. Like when Sony pulled out a couple of months ago.
Well, I mean, because they're showing it this E3 was so bad.
Right, that's what I mean. Like I wasn't surprised that Sony pulled out now, but like at the beginning of the year, you would have been like, hey, insider info, Sony's going to pull out of 2019's E3. It's like, no, they're not. That's ridiculous. Why would they do that? But after this year's E3 showing, like I just was not surprised. And I can totally see Microsoft, I think that thing in New Mexico was fairly
well received
for them. And I think the initial Xbox 360, was it Xbox One? Was the one where they had that big event out in the desert?
Oh, that was Xbox 360.
That was
Zero Hour.
That was a really fucking cool event, man.
Yeah.
And I think if companies were to spend the money doing that over E3, I just don't understand why they would go to E3.
And I think the way that they do, the way that Microsoft does kind of announcements and stuff, I think it lends itself more to their own convention to where people can really appreciate, hey, here's all of these different developers that we're bringing in under our label. Like, that's really, really cool, but maybe not for E3, at least for what people are expecting from E3.
Yeah.
But if you're going to a convention or whatever that's just, here's everything Microsoft related, I think that's better received.
I think E3 is very much going to change from a trade show to a consumer show.
Yeah.
But I don't think this year was necessarily the start.
Not this year.
So I would say...
Well, I mean, I guess I don't know how you want to look at it. Sony pulling out is the start, and that happened in 2018. But E3 is technically not dying yet. However you want to look at it. You're the judge, jury, and executioner.
You're saying that you necessarily weren't predicting for this coming E3 that already happened. You're just saying that E3 is dying, and since Sony...
I don't know exactly what my wording was,
Yeah.
so I have no clue. I guess it all depends on semantics, because, I mean, if it were me, I would have...
a point.
If it were me, I would... If it were me, I probably would have logically said, like, I don't mean E3 is going to be dead in 2018.
Yeah,
I just mean...
you would have thrown some caveats
I just
in
mean
there.
2018 probably would have been we're hooking E3 up to live support.
The way that it was,
Step.
the way that it was worded, and you guys are more than welcome to listen to this, and we can reevaluate next week. The way that it was worded was like, this year it's going to be very obvious that E3 is dying, and I don't think it was obvious at this year's E3. It would be very obvious that it was dying.
I think it would have been, especially with Sony showing. Good Lord, that was terrible.
Well, I don't know because
Square Enix,
because Microsoft and Sony have had bad showings so many times.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's
but
very true.
I would say 0, but I'm willing to.
I would give it a half. I'm feeling generous.
All right, so Chris has 1.5.
Some of those points are Justin points, though, so take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
Games exist.
My predictions.
Games exist.
Red Dead is coming out in May. Very wrong.
Wrong.
I wish you were right.
I wish I was right too. Number 2. This one was a little bit of word salad, but I was able to make it. I was able to communicate what I meant to as the conversation went on. My second prediction was Bethesda will only be at E3 if they have a Bethesda proper game to announce. And they had 3 Bethesda proper games to announce. 76, Elder Scrolls 6, and then Starfield. And then my last prediction was the Me Too movement will move on to gaming, and it won't have nearly as much traction. So I will let you guys judge me since I judged you.
Chris?
We've had this conversation before. His Bethesda thing is such a fucking word toss that there's no way it could have been false.
How could it not have been false? Because
Beth-
Bethesda could have gone and not had their own.
After 3 years, 2 years of E3, 3 years of E3, if you like, of course Bethesda was going to be at E3. There was no question in the world that Bethesda was going to have a conference at E3.
My point was that the only way Bethesda would show up to E3 in 2018 is if they had Bethesda proper games to show. If they didn't have Starfield or Elder Scrolls or Fallout to show, then they wouldn't have a conference.
And I think Chris's argument is surely they have one of those ready to show.
My argument is if Elder Scrolls, Fallout 76, or Starfield weren't on that thing, Andrew WK still would have sat out there and sang the theme song to Rage
and then
2.
I would have been wrong.
That's what I mean. You're the way you've worded it, that you've made it to where there's no way you can be wrong.
No, I would have been wrong because they would have gone to E3 and not had a Bethesda proper game to show.
Say your wording again.
My exact wording.
Bethesda will not be at E3.
Bethesda will only be at E3 if they have a Bethesda proper game to announce.
So if they didn't have one of those 3 games to announce,
So if they came to E3 and they didn't have Fallout 76 and they didn't have Starfield or Elder Scrolls, but they had come anyways and shown off Rage 2 and Quake and Doom 2, I would have been wrong.
Because they went without showing one of
Oh.
the Bethesda properties.
sure, whatever. Again, I don't care that much. I think he worded that very well.
Half a point.
I feel like he worded that extremely well. There was a 99% chance that he wouldn't have been wrong.
Statistically speaking, I would have been wrong because the last 2 fucking E3s they didn't have any Bethesda proper stuff.
I say a full point.
Okay.
Because there's not any way that you could have been half right. You know?
Yeah, I would
If they would have
been right or wrong.
Yeah. So, point.
And if they hadn't had shown up, I still would have been wrong because we wouldn't have known if they had a Bethesda proper game to announce. Or they would have announced it later and not been at E3.
That's true. You could have been wrong more times than you could have been right. 2 points.
Yeah. What about the last one?
The Me Too movement.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, it didn't.
I
don't think it caught much
care.
traction.
I don't care enough for follow it, so that's all 100% up to you two.
I mean, from my memory, I can't remember it. I mean, it's not being talked about as heavily right now as it is in Hollywood. You know?
I can think of stories, but I don't think any of them like kind of shook up the gaming industry in the same way that it worked for the movie industry. Like Riot is finally doing something about it, and they had like the worst case scenario.
Yes.
But even then, like you find it buried under thousands of other news stories and with hardly any views or comments.
I think the big problem or the big difference between Hollywood and celebrities versus like the gaming industry as a whole is the fact that people
In the gaming industry strive for attention. I agree.
and Hollywood doesn't.
Well, no, they yes, 100%. But that's why there's more traction there.
Well, what
because
I meant,
there's more eyes on on Hollywood, which is why
yes.
egomaniacal people become actors.
So what I was getting at was that I think the reason why these things stick around more in Hollywood is because people care more about, not necessarily care more, people care about the actors and their lives and everything that they're doing more so than gamers care about what's necessarily going on in the companies as long as they're getting good games.
I said it last year, and I'm going to say it again because I 100% believe this, and my belief in this hasn't changed as the year has gone on. The reason why people don't give a shit about it in the gaming industry is because it's mostly happening to men. Because the majority of people in the gaming industry that are working for it are men. And when a man gets sexually harassed, people don't care.
Unless you're a big name celebrity.
Yeah, unless it's Kevin Spacey that's doing it.
Yeah, or you're Terry Crews and everyone loves you.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Well, and even Terry Crews, the shit that happened to him happened in the movie industry, and that's why people cared.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Our crazy off the wall predictions. Someone was mostly right. Mine was we will get a BioWare game this year.
It's not me.
Justin's
Did
was
we not get a BioWare game this year?
we did not.
Not even like a not developed BioWare one?
Nope.
Here's a mobile game.
Justin's was this year a Game of Thrones RPG will be announced.
Rain.
Have you learned not to follow the hype?
Rain came out.
Have you learned not to follow
He
the hype?
he talked you into it though when you said it. You were very much like, what? Because we had talked about that target listing
The
for
whole
the Bethesda Game of
thing,
Thrones, and you were like, what if we're both right?
Now I want to know who the fuck drew that up.
Yeah, I didn't want to
knows?
figure out who did that.
Some loser.
Unless it really is still a thing, and Bethesda was like, man.
Man, but like I kind of hoped whenever they did the Elder Scrolls 6 now? Whenever they did the first reveal of just like the title reveal, it was like through like the mountains and stuff, and I was like, no.
Yeah,
maybe?
you could totally replace that logo with a Game of Thrones logo, and it would have been somewhat convincing.
Yeah, I was.
No, you couldn't. They play the Elder Scrolls theme.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, if they hadn't have played the Elder
okay.
Scrolls theme,
I
that
was
is a
like-
fair point.
But I was going.
even when
into it.
even
Yeah,
when the,
if
even
you
when
take
the,
off the Elder Scrolls theme and put in a Game
Sure,
of Thrones
okay.
theme, and then put
Sure,
the Game of
I
Thrones
agree.
title, yes.
like even when they were like zooming into the mountains, it was going dun 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 dun.
Well,
It's like,
I mean,
it's a fucking Elder Scrolls.
It was a split second, but
No, it
like
was not.
upon seeing
Okay,
it, I was like,
okay.
"Oh, fantasy kind of."
Oh, oh my God! Mountains only
right.
exist in fantasy universes.
the mountain, Game of Thrones.
The one who got their off the wall prediction kind of right
What did I say?
This year, the Bethesda proper game that will be announced at E3 will be a Fallout game, and it will be a New Vegas style game made by an outside studio.
Damn, I was half wrong.
I mean, I would say you were 2/3 wrong.
2/3 wrong.
But
Third of a point.
you were the most right.
2/3 wrong.
But it's funny though, because like saying it now, it sounds like of course that would happen. But like at the time, it was kind of a ridiculous prediction.
That a Fallout game was going to come out?
Yeah, I remember you making it, and I was like, "That's not going to happen."
Surely not.
But yeah,
And here we are.
here we are.
Here we are.
That's
It's a post-Rage 2 world.
anything's possible. All right, let's talk about our 2019 predictions.
What year is it?
So the way we do this are just 3 realistic predictions, 1 off the wall prediction. Justin, go ahead.
Are we doing
All
just
3 in a
one?
row?
Are we going like
We're
one,
gonna
one, one?
go in a circle like
okay.
we did last year.
That did not answer my question.
Are we doing
You're
one
doing
per-
one, and then the next person. Yes.
There we go. Thank you.
God, Justin, don't be a fucking moron.
My first
He answered me like I was a moron.
My first prediction will be that there will be a new model of the Switch coming out Christmas time this year, or 2019.
That's very specific. If you would have just said 2019 in general, I would have 100% agreed with you.
Well, 2019 in general, but I
Now
figured
you
you were going
can't
to
change it now.
But I figured you were going to be like, of course, it's
You
going to
can't
happen in
change it.
2019.
Yeah, of course a new Switch is going to come out in 2019. We've already talked about
That's
this.
a pretty
It's gonna
safe
be
bet.
Christmas time.
It's a pretty
Okay,
safe
sure.
bet.
If you're narrowing it down to Christmas time, sure. Well,
This-
which is
I
why I
feel-
threw the
I
caveat
feel
in
like
there.
I'll give it to you.
Yeah, because
Yes.
any of us could make it. Yeah. Okay, we'll see what happens.
I feel like because we know there's a new fucking Switch coming out. They've even talked about it.
Well,
Rage
They
2 will
haven't
come out
shown
this year. That's my prediction.
they haven't shown it yet.
They haven't shown Rage 2?
No, they haven't shown.
Oh,
a new
it's like,
Switch
yes, they
model.
have.
All right, Chris.
Fortnite is going to follow in PUBG's footsteps next year.
That's a risky bet, but I don't want to say you're wrong because every time I fucking argue with you
I-
about this,
again-
you end up being
Especially
right.
not battle royale games.
Again, if we have to like say it, like if we want to narrow it down, and
What
have
does
to-
dying mean?
Right, that's what I mean. Like if we want to talk about what's dying,
I think you saying PUBG.
yeah, I think it's
I think
gonna,
that very
yeah,
specifically
I
like
think,
paints
I
an
think
image.
Fortnite's going to follow in PUBG's footsteps. I don't want to add on to it because I kind of don't want to be wrong, but I feel like addendum, not addendum, because I don't want to say Fortnite will follow in PUBG's footsteps. Maybe I'll make the second statement as a second prediction. No, I'll just do it. It'll be half wrong. It's going to be replaced with something else.
And just
I don't know what, but Fortnite there is going to be another fad in 2019, and guys like Drake and fucking Kanye and whoever the fuck else is going to be on its train, and it's going to run hard for a couple years, but it will not be Fortnite.
I disagree.
Just to qualify the like our predictions this year, so that we're putting like actual rules on it. These are things that have to have happened in a calendar year.
Yeah, and-
so
yeah.
if we hit October and Fortnite's starting to die, or we hit, I don't know. I don't know about your prediction. Your prediction's so fucking safe. But if we hit October and it's starting to die, well, that's still 9 months out of the year where it was successful. So
Look,
That's
man,
where-
I'm just
that's
going.
where
I'm just
maybe-
going for points.
That's where
right
maybe
now.
the half a point comes in or something.
Right.
But I don't. I'll just say it's because of course it's going to be replaced by something. I just don't want to say what it's going to replace it by because there's no telling. But
it could be anything.
It literally could be anything. So, but Fortnite's going to follow in PUBG's footsteps, and 2019 is going to be the year it happens.
I know I'm gonna regret this, but I don't agree.
Okay.
I just want it to be on the record.
Okay, you
I
didn't
think
agree. You didn't agree with PUBG too.
I know,
Yeah.
and that's the thing. I know I'm gonna regret it, but I want it to be on the record. I don't
fine.
think it's gonna happen.
I think
I
the-
think it's, and I probably said it last year too. I think it's too big to die.
I think
in
the-
a year.
I think the biggest wild card about Fortnite that could possibly like make this wrong is the fact that it's free. I think one of the problems with PUBG is not only did you have to pay to get into early access, but it also was more expensive when it finally came out.
Sure.
And it wasn't
So-
on everything at that point.
If anything makes it survive, I think the fact that it's free will do that.
Sure.
And I think the fact that it's played by celebrities and everything, I think there's too much pop culture in it to make it go away in a year.
We'll see. My first prediction is we are not getting a Destiny 3 announcement this year. We are getting another Destiny expansion. And we, that's it. That's it. That's all I have to say about that.
Safe bet.
No, I think he'll get half a point
Why?
because I think Destiny 3 is going to be announced, but I think there's going to be another expansion. I think he'll have half a point.
Interesting.
We'll see. Justin.
I don't think they would do both.
I do.
You think?
Spongy.
They didn't do it before, but shit, I feel like if, to Chris's point earlier, if Destiny continues to show this trend that it's showing right now, they might have to announce Destiny 3, and they might have to give people incentive to jump in.
Right, and so the issue here is piggybacking off of that is if Destiny continues a trend it's continuing now, which I think it's going to. I think they're too far into development to make any more radical changes like they did with Forsaken. They're way too far into development of this process. In the development process, is they need something to bring Trey and I back. And another season pass is not going to do it because they've lost us already. But saying Destiny 3 is also coming in 2020 and your character moves, that would probably, barring crazy ass circumstances, that might get me back in.
That's just, it's so shitty.
It is super shitty, but guess what? Bungie's fucking jacking off T-Rex with one hand and like trying to fix Trey and I's freaking the fact that we spent I spent $40. You haven't spent it yet, but they're over here jacking off streamers and freaking.
They're fully hard, and we're just over here flaccid.
Yeah, they're doing everything they can with lube to try to get us back into it too, because we're 97% of their fucking player base.
93.
Sorry, 93, and it's not that high. We're probably like 60, but we're the majority.
I didn't realize T-Rex was a streamer. So you said they're jacking off T-Rex. I was like, is there T-Rex in Destiny now? What?
Dude, yeah, like Dado, they're all fucking circle jerking each other all day long. It doesn't even matter. They're getting each other off like crazy. But like, that's only 20% of their audience. When I'll say 60% is us, and the other 20% is completely fallen off.
Right.
You cannot expect your game to be successful on 10 to 20% of a player base. You just can't. You can't expect a game to make money from that. Whatever.
Destiny says, hold my beer.
Yeah, seriously. No shit.
All right, Justin. Prediction number 2.
Prediction number 2. So I think that 2019 there's going to be I think there's going to be a big spotlight on the gaming industry whenever it comes to laws. I think that this whole Fortnite controversy, especially around copyrights and whatnot, is going to bring a lot of attention to just games again. And I think that is going to lead to not only more structure when it comes to what can be copyrighted and what can't, especially in video games, but I think it's also going to lead to more strict regulations whenever it comes to microtransactions and more specifically loot boxes in games in the US. We're seeing it in other countries. Other countries are putting labels on games where it's, loot boxes are in this game and whatnot. I think that's going to make its way to the US. And I think that the Fortnite dance thing is going to start it.
Interesting. I have a hard time.
It's very complicated.
It is because
there's so many different layers to it.
Yeah, especially with the gambling laws. Other countries have way more strict in gambling laws than we do.
I mean, but
way more strict.
We do have strict gambling laws,
but not to the extent of like, Honduras is considered Overwatch gambling.
Yeah,
I don't think we as Americans are ever going to consider Overwatch gambling. I just don't think that's ever going to happen.
I don't think it's been brought up enough.
Was it Honduras? Am I saying that right? I remember misquoting that. Some other country.
Sure.
I don't remember what country it is.
There was a couple places.
Yeah, anyway.
But
the Netherlands. You're right. Netherlands.
I don't think that it's been
not even close to Honduras.
I don't think it's necessarily been. I don't think it's been necessarily in the attention of like the legal system. Basically, I mean, like it's been there, but like I said, I think the fact that there are going to be these big lawsuits, air quotes around big, specifically around copyright, I think that's going to put a lot of things into question.
So I guess, like, do you think something's going to happen for it, or you just think people are going to be questioning?
No, I would say that some groundwork is going to start getting laid as far as it could be as simple as labeling whenever there's microtransactions and or loot boxes in a game, adding that to the ESRB. I don't think anything bigger than that necessarily this year, but I think it's going to start to be we're going to start down the path of this.
ESRB already points out in-game purchases.
Okay.
So that's a thing that's already happened.
But
I don't know. I think that I think with a Republican-led government right now, I don't see any actual movement happening. And that's not to say it won't happen. I mean, I'm wrong about shit all the time. But I just think that, like,
Do you mean in the presidency or in the House?
Senate. The House is Democrat led, but I don't. Just the government in general is being led by Republicans right now, and I think that we are foolish if we don't believe that some of the lobbyists that exist and some of the lobbyists that are putting money into Republican pockets aren't people in the video game industry.
Sure.
There's no way. I mean, the movie industry is lobbying just as hard as oil and gas and everything else. So I would have to believe that, like, while Republicans are still in power, we probably won't see any significant movements. Mm-hmm. But I've been wrong before.
Oh, it's my turn. Trays, I would say. I don't know if Trey still considers them the things, but I would say 2 of the big Bs are going to fall from grace next year.
I think that's a safe bet because it's already started,
and it's going to be Bethesda and Blizzard.
Yep.
Bethesda and Blizzard are going to fall from their good graces next year.
Yeah.
Because it's, at least in Trey's head, we've said this plenty of times, and I agree with him. Blizzard, BioWare, Bethesda, and Bungie.
Bears beats Battlestar Galactica.
Bears beats Battlestar Galactica. And I think it's going to be Blizzard and Bethesda.
Both of them.
I think they're going to fall from grace next year pretty hard. And Bethesda won't recover till probably 2020 or 2022 when ESO comes out. Elder Scrolls 6 comes out. Because they got nothing. Rage 2 is not going to do it. Rage 2 is going to be fine. You know what? I think it's going to be a fun game. People are going to play it, but they're not going to forget the Fallout 76 debacle. They're not going to forget the canvas bag. They're not going to forget here's $5 in in-game currency. Take this with our. They're not going to forget that shit.
Well, I picture it being like a Doom. Like it'll be good. It'll be
sure,
fun.
but
People
it's not
will
gonna.
play it,
It's not gonna like erase the fucking shit stain that Fallout 76 was on Bethesda's thing.
My second prediction was going to be. Or is going to be that Bethesda is going to spend a significant amount of time this year trying to make up for the shit they pulled.
And they're not going to be able to.
And I don't know. I'm not, but it's a post-Rage 2 world. Anything can happen.
Sure.
But I think with Bethesda, it's not just Fallout 76. Fallout 76 is a bad game, and it is what it is. They also put out, they published Elder Scrolls Online.
Sure.
And now people love that game. But I think there's more about it. There's the canvas bag situation. There's also the fact that they just leaked out a huge portion of their customer base's personal information.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even know that.
Yep.
In an email.
Literally,
there was a guy that posted on Reddit, on the Fallout 76 Reddit, going, "Hey, I signed up on Bethesda's newsletter, blah, 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 blah." And he's like, "I was able to get all your personal information. I just wanted to let everybody know, if you bought this thing, I can access your account. I can access everything Bethesda." It's like, how the fuck does that even happen, Bethesda?
Yeah.
Through an email.
That's
the
crazy.
guy fucking tried to email customer support, and this is what he can get into.
And this is just 2 months.
Yeah. 2 months.
All of this has happened in 2 months. And I think we've said this before, and it has never stopped being true. Bethesda has been able to coast by with a lot of their fucking bullshit because gamers love them.
Yep.
And they are going to do everything in their power to try to get gamers to love them again because they have no power.
And they're not going to be able to.
I'm not even sure what they could do to really make up for
release Elder Scrolls 6 next year.
Well, yeah, sure.
And to go off that, Blizzard, the Diablo 4 debacle, the Battle for Azeroth, the changes that they made in that to basically
the
just
Heroes of the Storm shit
that was my next thing I was going to bring up, is the fact that they've literally not abandoned Heroes of the Storm, but they've pulled most of the development team off Heroes of the Storm, and now it's a skeleton crew keeping it alive.
Well, but
what?
Not only that, but they had esports teams that were gearing up for the next season of Heroes of the Storm.
And now there's not.
And so you had all these people and teams that were formed that they left out in the fucking dark for months and said nothing.
Yeah.
And then in December they go, "Sorry, Heroes of the Storm is dead." And all these teams are sitting there like, "What the fuck just happened to us?"
Mm-hmm. So those two of the big Bs. I would have said three, but to your point earlier, Destiny's not dead. It's not. It's not dead in the sense that this game is dead.
Well,
it's dead in the sense that, you know,
I mean,
80% of their player base is gone.
If we're looking at this year, though,
but Bungie's got a 6-foot grave that they're trying to crawl out of, and it's going to be tough.
If we're looking at this year, though, all 4 of the Bs have major threats coming at them.
Sure.
I mean, none of them are safe. BioWare's probably the one that's most likely going to say, make it
yes.
through.
BioWare's
Anthem can still be a bad game.
It could be. You're 100% right. And is that going to... But I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Well, and I think that regardless of how we feel about Mass Effect Andromeda, the general consensus is that game was bad.
It's bad, sure.
And I think that Anthem coming out and being a bad game is enough to sway public consciousness against them. And I also fully believe that if Anthem comes out and it fails, we can say bye to BioWare. I think BioWare is under major threat of being closed down.
Yeah, I think on that side of the coin, yes. I'm looking at this more from a public relations side, from developer to community. That's how I'm looking at it.
I think if Anthem was a bad game, that would be a shitstorm for the community.
I think you're right, but I don't think Anthem's going to be bad enough of a game that's going to happen. I don't think.
Well, there's degrees of shitstorm, right?
Sure.
Like, are they in Bethesda and Blizzard territory? No.
Absolutely
Are they in
not.
Bungie territory? No.
Yeah. But yeah, that's my second. 2 out of the Blizzard and Bethesda are going to fall pretty hard from grace in 2019.
Justin?
Oh, what was yours?
Mine was Bethesda's going to spend a significant portion of the year trying to make up for its bullshit.
Gotcha. Okay.
And fail. Say and fail.
No.
Say and fail.
No, I don't.
Do it.
No.
Do it.
I don't like 0.5s. I like even numbers. Even odd numbers.
So this next one, I went with, I believe that in 2019 we are going to see a trailer / announcement for the new upcoming Fable game. Reason being, Playground Games finished up on Forza Horizon, and basically in July they pretty much turned it all over to the company that was helping them, Turn 10. Turn 10 is basically keeping it alive, 100%. Mm-hmm. Normally, Turn 10 would then start working on Forza Motorsports, I believe is the other Forza game, and that's the game that Playground Games does not help with at all. Mm-hmm. But they've already said that they are not working on a Forza Horizon Motorsports at all. They're just focusing on this Forza Horizon and kind of keeping it going. Which leads me to believe that Playground is then dedicating all of their time and effort and money and manpower into creating the new Fable game.
So what are we talking about trailer-wise? Are you just like, hey, Fable exists?
No. I think like actual legitimate, like here's a trailer. Maybe not like here's gameplay or anything like that, but title, some game footage.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think, first of all, most games are on a 3-year development cycle. And I think that Microsoft is in a place where they can kind of hold off on announcing things because they're going to save most of the IP that's being worked on for the Xbox 2 or whatever they call it. Mm-hmm. I also think that Playground and the other company, Turn 10. Sorry. They're great studios, but they mostly work on car games, and so in order to make an RPG, they're going to have to build a completely new engine or take another engine and adapt it for it. So I don't necessarily know that Fable is going to be in any showable state. I think it's fairly safe to say that like there's a chance that Microsoft can come out and be like, do the Dragon Age thing, where it's like, oh, Fable exists and it's a thing, but I don't know that we're going to see anything substantial or necessarily like worthwhile things that we don't already know.
Right. Other than the fact that it's a thing, that it's working.
I think next year might be a solid thing, and especially if the rumors are right that the Xbox, the new Xbox is coming out in holiday season, I would almost guarantee that at that E3 they're going to be like, hey, look, here are some things that we're working on, and Fable's one of them, and here's a tech demo.
Yeah, I mean that's why I think that this coming year we'll get a little bit. Had they said that the Anaconda and Lockhart or whatever were projected for holiday 2021, I wouldn't think that we would get anything this coming year, or more than just like them coming out on stage and be like, "And we're working on Fable." But I think this. I don't know. I think that we'll get to see something this year.
We'll see. I would actually be really surprised, and maybe this is my third prediction. Maybe I'm stepping ahead a little bit, but I would. We know that Sony doesn't. We're fairly confident that Sony doesn't intend on talking about their next generation of consoles or their next generation console this year. And if I was Microsoft, I would really hold off on saying anything until we had a better idea of when Sony was saying something. So I don't necessarily know that we're going to get any solid information or any solid showings of the new consoles this year. Because Sony's not going to show anything, and I think Microsoft is going to hold on as long as they can.
Mm-hmm.
So that they don't fuck the poodle before Sony has a chance to show off what they're working on.
Sure.
So I
agree with that. We're not going to see consoles till 2020.
Yeah, I don't
even like announcements of consoles till 2020.
Yeah,
and then maybe they're out November that year.
Mm-hmm.
There's no
basically
reason.
just keeping your cards close to your chest.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, this console generation is a perfect example of why keeping your cards close to your chest is maybe a good idea. Mm-hmm. But again, though, if Xbox is doing this whole leotard and anaconda, whatever it's called, was that
I
right?
like how you don't remember Lockhart.
Lockhart.
But you remember
right.
Anaconda.
Yeah.
He remembers Anaconda because of the song.
Because the song, yeah.
Well, I feel like you would remember Lockhart because of fucking Texas.
Oh, there's a Lockhart. They have good barbecue.
They do.
So the Anaconda and the barbecue. I think I feel like if they weren't doing this whole dual console release that they have planned or that are rumored to be planned, I think maybe Sony probably would have announced PS5 this year. But I just don't see it happening now. If this thing is real, there's no reason in the world Sony can't look at this and be like, shit, should we do more than one console? Which they should not. They 100% should not. But this just proves even further. It's like you don't have to announce anything right now.
Yeah.
You don't.
I think Sony's in a place where they're going to try to ride the PS4 wave as long as they can.
Which they should.
90
million units sold, they 100% should.
That's what any smart company would do. I don't think they have a reason to announce a new console just yet, and I think that Microsoft is so far behind. I truly believe that we're probably looking at 40 million, 45, maybe 50 in a super optimistic way million Xboxes.
Units sold. I would have said 60, but you might be right.
I think it's closer to that lower end because all the indications that we've seen just throughout the year seem to indicate that they're around half, if not slightly over half, than Sony.
See, that's why I feel like they might show something because I feel like they're in a place where there's no coming back in this generation. And you have E3 to where Sony's not going to be there.
But here's the issue that you arrive at when you're Microsoft. None of the IP that they have working right now is coming out on Xbox One. It's just not. It's not ready yet. It might come out like dual launch, but it's not coming out in the near future. So Microsoft gets on stage and they say, hey, we got the Xbox 2.
What?
None of the IP that Microsoft is working on is coming out on Xbox One. It's probably specifically being made for Xbox 2 because it's too early.
You're talking about like Halo or the next
I'm
Gears?
talking about Fable. I'm talking about whatever they have Obsidian working on and all these other companies
that Obsidian game's due out next year.
Yeah, but it's not a Microsoft game. It's not a first party game.
You're talking about exclusive titles.
I'm talking about exclusives.
Got it. Okay, I understand. I was like, yes, that game is 100% coming out on Xbox One.
There are no games coming out on Xbox One 2019.
Okay, I understand. Okay.
None of their exclusives that they have working are ready yet, and they're all probably going to come out on Xbox 2.
Yeah.
Aside from the things they've already announced. So they come on stage and they say, hey, we got the Xbox 2 working and, we're really excited about it. And here are all the games that are coming out for it, but it's not coming out on the Xbox One X. Meanwhile, Sony doesn't say anything. Who the fuck, who hasn't already bought an Xbox One, who would buy one?
It's true.
They would be eating into their own sales when they have no reason to.
Yeah.
Because they would come on stage at E3 and say that, and then they would have a year and a half before they have anything to show for it. If the rumors are correct and it's coming out in 2020. So if I were them, I think the smart thing to do would shut my mouth, pretend like the Xbox One is the best console out there, and wait till 2020 to say anything. Because I think you have a much stronger footing when you say, hey, I'm here to talk about the Xbox 2 and it's coming out this November.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think we're going to see anything official about the new consoles this year from either Microsoft or Sony. And I honestly think that we're probably
going to prediction.
Yeah, that's my prediction. Side prediction, not one that doesn't necessarily count. I think that we're going to be in a place where in a year or two, and I've said this before and I still believe it, I think the Switch is going to outsell the Xbox One. Maybe not this year, maybe not next year, but when you look at lifetime sales of these consoles, the Switch is eating Xbox's lunch. The fact that it has 22 million sold when realistically we're looking at 45 million Xboxes, that's fucking embarrassing for Microsoft. Especially when you look at where Nintendo was last console generation. So yeah, Chris.
So we know Last of Us is probably coming 2020. That's what I would say. I don't think Last of Us is coming 2019. But we got Days Gone in February.
I thought it got pushed back.
No, April. You're right. And then after that, there's no Sony exclusives that I know of.
Maybe Dreams.
Am I correct?
There is Death Stranding, and then
Death Stranding, but Death Stranding is not coming out next year. Next year.
Well, here are the upcoming games that they have.
Okay.
Dreams, Days Gone, Death Stranding, and then that fucking samurai game by Sucker Punch.
Tsushima.
Yeah, Ghost of
Tsushima.
Yeah, Ghost of Tsushima. I can't fucking say the name of that game.
Ghost of Sushi.
Ghost of Sushi.
Ghost of
It's a weird
Sushi.
fucking name.
I think those are the then fucking Medieval remastered.
Oh, whatever.
I mean, people are excited about it.
Sure.
So
but that leads into my prediction. Sony's not going to be at E3. Sony's going to hold their own, whatever it is. Probably going to be PSX. PSX is probably going to be bigger than we've ever seen it this year. And Sony is going to show off Last of Us. Sony's going to heavily show off Death Stranding. But again, Last of Us won't be 2020 till 2020. I would venture to guess Death Stranding won't be till 2020 to 2021. However, I think at the end of whatever Sony conference has planned, there's going to be one more thing, and it's going to be fucking huge. And when I say huge, I mean like, when fucking they announced God of War, that new God of War, they announced like they got Spider-Man, or they announced fucking just a crazy ass IP they got a hold of, and and Andrew not Andrew House, what's his name? Come on, Trey.
which one?
Sony guy and Sony exec Andrew House.
It is Andrew House.
Is it Andrew House? He's on
the
stage.
guy that was on stage. That's Andrew House.
And he goes, and we got one more thing. Screen fades black, and it's gonna be huge.
So
Extra point.
Extra
What do you
point
think
for
it
what
is?
it is.
It's okay. Take your time.
This is so stupid. Are you going to take a point away if I say this if I get it wrong?
No, this is the bonus question on a test.
Final Fantasy 16.
can you boil the first part of that down so they're
The
gonna
first part is literally going to be like they're going to show
coming at
off
the
all
end of
these
this year?
things. Yeah, they're showing off all these things. But there's going to
But it's a
at
bigger
the end
and
of this
better
is going to be
PSX.
bigger than fucking Death Stranding announcement at PSX or whatever the fuck Sony does this year.
But you're saying the convention itself is also going to be like bigger and better.
No, I'm saying I'm
announcement's
saying the
gonna be-
one more thing is going to be bigger than any Hideo Kojima game could ever been.
Okay, so nothing necessarily special about the
Yeah.
thing itself. It's
Yeah,
just
like,
more so about the
I
announcement.
think whether people agree with me or not, Hideo Kojima games are great, but they're not as big as Final Fantasy. They're just not. Final Fantasy is one of the biggest gaming franchises of all fucking time, with hundreds of millions of units sold across 15 million games. It seems like.
But Kojima has a really cool logo.
Sure.
So
And you know what? Death Stranding may be fucking great, but I think there's going to be one more, and maybe not Final Fantasy 16. That would be huge.
nope, stick with it. Come on, Game Jesus.
No, because that's like an off the wall thing. I just know I have the feeling there's gonna be and one more, and it's just gonna be ridiculous.
I honestly can't think of any IP that would fit that description, like that hasn't been seen recently that could get that kind of outcry, right?
Yeah.
Because like Uncharted, sure, we just had an Uncharted
Sure,
game.
but it's not gonna be another Uncharted.
I think the closest thing that the thing that would make me freak out would be if it was Infamous, but I don't know that. I don't know
if that would be like a.
I don't know if that would be a
the
huge
internet
deal.
would explode. I feel like it's Sony, man.
Star Wars: Knights of the Old Republic 3 exclusive to Sony.
Hear me out. Black screen, and then you just hear the Harry Potter music start to play. And then
That
it's
is not going to be a Sony exclusive game.
I mean,
and then it's
also,
the Harry Potter
You are just the fucking king of safe bets. You're that motherfucker that, like, when you play tag, has their hand on base the entire time. We know a Harry Potter game is working.
but Sony exclusive.
So yeah, and then you know what? I feel like this is a safe bet, but it's also not a safe bet. But it's Sony. Sony pulled out of E3. They literally pulled out of one of the biggest gaming conventions in the fucking world. Why? Because they didn't have enough time for their last one, because they didn't, what are they doing? Oh, we want more time to show off our games, or, more than likely a big reason is, hey, we don't have anything to show at E3.
Because our biggest the things that are coming out in the future aren't going to hit till 2020.
Sure,
Exactly. They're too far ahead.
Exactly.
To talk about.
So let's use PSX, which is 3 or 4 months afterwards, which is 3 or 4 months no, that's December. PSX is December, right?
Yeah.
That's fucking 6 months after E3, which is 6 more months of development time, which is 6 more months for somebody to get a trailer together or some kind of graphic together to blow this shit out of the water. Sony is very, very good at one more thing, because they've done it every fucking year except for last year.
If the thing that could potentially fuck me the hardest is, for my last prediction, is PSX. Because if there was a time where Sony would come out and talk about their console, I think PSX would be it. Especially if they have a year where they haven't talked about any, or they haven't had anything to show.
I have to agree with you. There's no way the and one more thing is PS5. I have to agree with you. There's no way they show PS5 next year, even in December. Well,
I'm just saying, like, the potential for me to get fucked with that prediction.
Sure,
is
that
PSX.
right there. Yeah, because it's December. That's an extra 6
Yeah,
months of
especially
development time.
I mean, they didn't do PSX this year. They very much could be like, hey, we're actually not going to really do anything this year. We're not going to be at Paris Games Week. We're not going to do PSX. We're not going to be at E3.
They could, but
they might do a thing where it's like, hey, maybe Last of Us does come out this year, and they have like a fucking Sony Direct where they're here's Last of Us. It's coming out on this day. They could very easily do that, because that's something that I believe Sony could do, because they're at a point where they have nothing to lose.
Sure, but we know I feel like I know Sony, and Sony loves measuring the size of their dick.
I think it's more likely, especially if they go 10 months out of the year being quiet.
And then
I think
December,
it's fairly likely that they come out and put their dick on the table in front of everyone.
And that's kind of the thing is, but that and one more is going to be just fucking ginormous. But I don't think it's going to be PS5. And it may not. Final Fantasy 16 would do it. Like, the internet would lose their shit to a Final Fantasy 16 announcement, but not as much as they lost their shit to a Final Fantasy 7 remake announcement, or like a fucking man. What's a beloved PlayStation title that just we haven't seen in a while?
Sly Cooper,
Jack and Daxter,
Battle
Sly
Royale.
Cooper. I don't know if that would break the internet.
No, it wouldn't. And that's the problem, though, is that when you look at, like, really the only IP I think they have that could do that is Last of Us, and they've already done that.
But again, like I said earlier, maybe it's an IP they don't have. Spider-Man was an IP they did not have.
Harry Potter is an IP that they just don't have.
But we know Harry Potter exists.
That's the joke.
Oh, you're joking. Yeah, but like it's
plenty of not good jokes.
What if they
That's what I bank on.
But what if they come with an IP that they don't have, like I don't know, a Justice League game or something. Well, Square Enix are working on that with an IP that just nobody expected.
Well, I mean it's a post Rage 2 world.
Sure, yeah.
They come out with Rage 3.
Yeah, maybe that should have been my off the wall. But if I know Sony, man, they really love showing off their fucking 13-inch dick. So they're gonna do it this year. So.
All right. Speaking of off the wall predictions, Justin.
Man. I feel like
I learned something new the other day that is very much influencing this.
What?
Would you like me to start?
Yeah.
Guess where the bulk of the development's coming from on Anthem?
Edmonton?
Austin.
Oh, okay.
I learned that the other day.
Oh, interesting.
So
they kept that a secret?
No, but I think we just figured, because Edmonton's also working on it.
Right. What's your source?
That's where most of the dev streams are coming from, is Austin. So that's where most of the devs are.
Well, maybe. I mean, it's Canada. They don't have power in Canada.
Austin?
So.
Oh, shit.
So maybe
funny.
they have to stream
That's
in
funny.
Austin.
No, so then I looked it up a little bit more, and a lot of the development team is in Austin.
I think it's fairly safe because you have that entire. Well, first of all, you close down fucking.
You exit Montreal.
You close down Montreal.
Yeah.
And you have an entire team that's sitting in Austin, basically doing nothing. Just watching servers, make sure they don't melt. So yeah, why not use them to work on your multiplayer
They're just
game?
sitting there with fans. Just,
Also, like let's be real for a second. Out of all three of the BioWare studios that have existed, Austin has the most experience with multiplayer games.
Sure.
So why not use them?
Yeah, 100%. So that leads into, I think we can just safely assume that a bulk of Edmonton is also working on Dragon Age because we know that's a thing now. So that's kind of a thing. But I don't think that entire studio is working on Dragon Age, and I also don't think that the entirety of Austin is working on SWTOR and Anthem. I think there's a small sect of BioWare that is in super early development of literally of KOTOR 3. Like I've probably said this 2 years in a row, but I don't think I've ever made the prediction. Disney and EA need to do something with Star Wars, because if EA doesn't do something with Star Wars soon, they're going to lose that license. Disney is going to pull that license from them, and they're going to find somebody else to do it better, because Disney's not the dumb one. Does that make sense? Disney knows what the fuck those guys are doing.
right.
But EA has been dragging their feet so hard with the Star Wars brand, canceling 1313, completely trashing Amy Hennig's Star Wars game. God fucking knows what the hell Respawn's doing.
Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order.
Sure, whatever. But for the most part, EA has shit the bed with the Star Wars franchise, and I think they know that they're going to lose it if they don't do something drastic. And so that's going to be my off the wall prediction.
Your off the wall prediction? I think
my off the wall prediction is to survive this. Because it's EA, dude. One of my other predictions was going to be like EA may drop off the face of the earth because the Battlefield fiasco for this past year, just the overall sports sales going down this year. Not FIFA, but Madden overall, it's just gone down.
Yeah.
NBA,
FIFA
what is it?
lives on
NBA
forever.
Live, NBA Live sales are just tanked hard. EA is just not in a good position as a publisher anymore, mainly because everybody hates him, but also because they just don't make good decisions.
Yeah.
They're just a bad gaming company. So EA has got to do something drastic in 2019 to fucking number one. This whole thing is to not to lose that Star Wars license, because whatever the fuck Respawn's working on is not going to fucking do it. It's just not. I don't. Respawn makes fine first person shooters. Titanfall's fine. Whatever. It's a good game, but they're not going to fucking do justice to a Star Wars brand. But BioWare will. And I think EA has a small sect of BioWare working on KOTOR, and we're gonna find out about it this year.
Well, to piggyback off of your prediction,
EA is gonna shut down.
No, 10 months ago.
They're taking a sabbatical.
10 months ago, so in February, a rumor started from Cinelinx.
What the hell is Cinelinx?
It's a website.
Sounds like a really bad cereal.
Like cinema, and then links is supposed to be internet.
I was gonna say it sounds like a real bad cinnamon cereal.
According to Cinelinx, Disney held a meeting with EA executives to discuss what is wrong with the Star Wars video games, and it also reached out to Activision and Ubisoft to see if they would be interested in the license. Apparently, there is a clause in the licensing agreement between Disney and EA that would allow Disney to back out of the deal if it fails to meet certain standards. Ooh. So my off-the-wall prediction is that Jedi Fallen Order is going to be the last Star Wars game made by EA, and we will see significant movement either through rumors or through official word that the license is being moved away from EA. And so we'll never see another KOTOR game.
That's not true. I don't think that's true at all.
Well, it's not true.
That we'll never see another KOTOR game.
I hope not.
I don't think that's true.
I hope it's not true.
I think it's kind of badass that like Disney's like, yeah, if you don't meet our standards, like we can just leave.
And they
but
should.
that's just awesome. Well, yeah, a contract.
Like I said, Disney's not stupid.
Yeah.
I fully believe that clause is in that contract.
EA got the contract.
Disney's not stupid.
EA got the contract in 2013, and so far they've only showed 2 games, one of which was not.
I'm sorry, one game's come out.
2 games have come out. One game was not great, Star Wars Battlefront. The second game, Star Wars Battlefront 2, was an ultimate PR disaster that Disney was also helping fight.
Yes.
So
Disney had to come out and like go against
Battlefront
that
came out in 2013.
The license was signed in 2013. I'm sorry, the contract was signed in 2013.
Got it. And Battlefront 2 came out last year in 2017. And Battlefront 1 came out in 2015.
Yes.
Yes.
So,
thanks, little Trey.
I said it like a split second after him.
So I think Jedi Fallen Order is going to be that last game.
Yeah, I think I would love everything that you just said, but I think EA has better developers that can do more with the Star Wars universe.
If I were Disney, I would do exactly what they did with the Marvel license and just give it to a bunch of different people.
Yeah, maybe
Sony
you're right.
makes a game.
Sure, maybe you're
Ubisoft
right.
makes a game.
Sure.
Square Enix makes
Sure,
a game.
maybe you're right.
EA, you know what? We want BioWare to make a game, and if you don't want them to make a game, fuck you. We're taking it. You don't get any games.
Right.
I mean,
I think that's a pretty good idea.
I think
like
it
that.
was
I like
smart
that idea.
what they did with Marvel.
I like that idea better than I like pulling Disney from EA, Star Wars from EA, and giving it to somebody else.
Yeah.
I like the idea of spreading it out more than I like pulling it.
I mean, if you're Marvel, you know they got money from the Sony Spider-Man game.
Sure. Oh, of course
There were
they did.
benefits for them.
Of course they did.
For making that happen. So why not have a bunch of studios make high quality Star
Sure,
Wars
of
games?
course. How come our off the walls always revolve around Star Wars?
Last year they didn't.
Oh, you're right. They did not last year.
Yeah. The year before mine was.
Now you guys are holding hands over Star Wars over there.
That's still
No, different than normal.
Yeah, it's still the greatest fucking franchise ever.
That's fair.
Ever.
Ever. I feel like mine aren't too crazy, so I have 2.
Then you can't say that.
We don't.
It's super crazy.
We don't do 2. We do 1.
Well, I'm gonna say 2.
Choose one.
Whatever the first one you say is going to be the one that counts.
That's the one that counts.
Okay, so make sure you say the one you really want to count first.
But I feel like it's too safe.
Well, then don't
Then
make
don't do it. It's not an
It's supposed to be
off-the-wall
off the
prediction.
wall.
But I feel
you
like
don't
it
get
is off
points
the
for
wall.
off the wall. Oh yeah, I guess you do.
Well, I think
Do you
it's
get
off-
points for off the wall?
I consider them 2 separate categories. Like you
okay,
won the
so
off the wall.
yeah.
I would say that I
Got
won
it,
the
got it,
original.
got it.
Okay. I think that we will see a weirder either update or DLC or something for Red Dead Online or Red Dead in the Story.
Oh, so you're saying like Undead Nightmare?
I mean,
How is that fucking off the wall? How is
Because
how
they've-
is literally how is that off the wall?
because
You're
they've-
predicting that there's literally
I think-
no way in hell
I think
that
he
Red
knew-
Dead Online doesn't
I-
get a zombie update.
I think he knew he was going to get 0 points, and so he had to he wanted to play it super safe so that he could win. next
No,
year.
it's because they've publicized this game as being like all about being realistic and realism.
the game, not Red Dead Online. They said Red Dead Online is going to evolve with the player base.
I mean, I guess, but
But you were literally saying,
I'm on base. You can't tag me.
but you're saying that Red Dead Redemption is not going to get a zombie update. Or that's the most off the wall thing you could possibly think of.
maybe.
Poor Justin. We're not trying to bully you.
The second one or the other one, let me know if this one's better. We'll see AAA game with crossplay between Xbox and PS4.
See, now that's a much better prediction.
See, but I felt like I was gonna say it, and
'Cause
then
I
I was
would-
gonna
I-
be, "Ooh, Fortnite already did it."
I don't
Fortnite's
consider
not a AAA
Fortnite a
game.
AAA
Well,
game.
yeah, I know it's not, but that's why I threw it in AAA.
But that is a damn good prediction because, just with all 3, Reggie Fils-Aimé, Andrew House, and Spencer being on stage at the same time, they were probably clenching their fists and crossing their fingers and grinding their teeth the whole time they were up there.
Mm-hmm.
At least Andrew House was, right? Reggie Fils-Aimé and fucking Spencer were
Phil
probably
Spencer
like
just
jacking
like-
each other off. Yeah.
They were holding hands.
Yeah, they were
Just
holding
like
hands.
you're saving us. Keep us
Yeah,
alive.
exactly. But I believe in a world where Call of Duty 5 comes out next year and it's cross-platform.
Yeah, I was thinking Call of Duty would
So
be pretty big.
that is I say you take that one. More
go with that one.
more than well, Red Dead Online is going to get a zombie update.
I didn't say zombie. I just said weird.
That's a weird update.
Well, I mean, yeah, but unicorns are weird too.
We might get unicorns as well. There was you could ride the 4 horse of the apocalypse in the first one.
And a donkey.
But could you do that in online, or was that?
Yeah.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, you could buy him.
Oh, I thought that was just a single.
Yeah, no, you could buy him. And then there was a unicorn in Assassin's Creed Odyssey.
Red
That game was fairly based in a realistic setting, but there was a unicorn.
That's fair.
Red Dead Online is disappointing because there's no donkey mount.
You can find one.
You
No,
can't
but
save
you
it.
can't own one.
You can't own one. Yes, you can definitely find it and ride it as much as you want until it dies or
disappointment.
loses. Yeah, you lose it.
Can you imagine riding a donkey to death?
Yeah, I think
I would do it.
Yeah, Rich probably can do it.
I ride my horses to death all the time.
He does. Every time he gets on his horse is all kill me now.
Just like, no, go faster, eat these oats.
All right, guys.
Yeah, you need to take the second one. The fact that there will be a AAA game next year with cross-platform.
So that's our game of the year and prediction show of the year. Usually this is the part where I plug a bunch of shit, but we're not going to do that because this is our 50th episode.
I'll do it.
Please don't.
You can find all of us on Facebook and the things.
You're doing
with the,
so
the
good.
things and the
10 out of 10.
at Darth Trey. MySpace /
City Link. What was it? What's that one like
Cinelink.
blog website?
it's MySpace.
Like from like the early 2000s.
Journal?
Nope.
No, it was Journal something. I know what you're talking about.
gosh.
Yeah, it was
LinkedIn.
it was no. It was
Yearbook.
nope. It was Journal something Journal. Damn it! I know exactly what you're
Yeah,
talking about.
where like everyone had one
Yeah,
and like
I know exactly what you're talking about. But it is myspace.com / edgelord hero with a 3 instead of the E in hero for me.
HTTPS colon
No, it's not secure. It's MySpace.
backslash
MySpace is not secure whatsoever.
www.myspace, not your space. MySpace.
What were you going to say?
Oh my god! I should totally change my name to edgelord hero.
That's actually
No.
not a bad name.
No, it's pretty bad.
No, I mean, I think
If I ever have to change it because of the copyrighted short change hero, which I've always talked about, I'll change it to edgelord
I
hero.
feel like if you didn't know Chris and you didn't realize that it was a joke, it would seem like a bad name. But I feel like if you know Chris, you
Sure.
know that he doesn't really mean it, although he is an edgelord.
I want to be an edgelord. I'm nowhere near an edgelord, but
You'll
I
get
want to.
there.
I want to
Yeah.
be one. Yeah.
When
I
you
wanna,
grow up.
I want to be that kid with the gas mask underneath the fucking underpass, like doing the
Just doing the rave.
yeah,
and,
doing the rave shit.
like it.
But yeah, we will. We're gonna go now because it's almost midnight and we're all tired, and you can tell.
Hey,
Happy
Happy
New
New
Year,
Year,
yeah.
everybody! If you're listening to this and you're drunk or you're hunged over the next
You're
day,
hanged over.
You're hanged over the next day. I hope my beautiful voice
Good lord.
is helping that hangover.
Hopefully, you're not hanging over because that's just sad.
What?
Hanging over,
Hanging
like-
to the right?
No, well, I hope. Well, maybe. I mean,
It depends on where.
Just
Depends on where.
wherever you were going.
Little
don't go there.
little known. Sorry, Everett. Little known fact. Did you know? Back at the turn of the century, when you would get measured for clothes, you'd
Yes,
have to
they
tell
would
them
leave more
dress,
space.
and you would tell them you dress to the right or left.
Yeah. Or which way does the river run?
The professional term or the socially acceptable term was I dress to the left, which means I hang to the left. or
So
hang
if
to
you
the
were a
right.
cowboy getting fitted for pants, you'd be like, "Oh, I dress to the left."
Yes, that is 100% what you would say.
No, you go and you'd be like, "The river runs to the right," and be like, "Okay,
What river? Why is your penis a river?
it's AIDS. I don't know.
What? What?
what?
It's 1899, man.
I,
One day,
I got
One
nothing.
day, I'm gonna make a dunce cap, but it's not gonna say dunce. It's just gonna say Justin. It's gonna have your big smiley mug at the top. Just the goofy grin.
What'd you learn today, everybody? Oh, I learned AIDS turns your penis to water.
I mean, eventually.
What? Explain your thought process. Expound, please.
I don't know.
How does AIDS turn your penis to water? Eventually.
Boils
Nope. No.
water.
Yeah, you don't get AIDS. You don't get boils from AIDS. AIDS
Bumps.
shuts down
Oh,
your
wait,
immune
do,
system.
okay. So do you know what AIDS is?
It's an STD.
Okay, yeah, but do you know like
Sure,
what it
but
does?
what it does.
It kills you.
Do you know what AIDS stands for?
What do you know what it actually does?
Autoimmune disease.
Exactly. So it literally shuts down your immunity system.
What is your body mostly made of?
I'm going to
Water.
answer this, but I still don't understand where you're going from. Water.
He has just the biggest shit-eating grin on his face right now.
So if your body were to shut down, what would you turn into?
bones and dust, because that's what happens when your body
In
decomposes.
fact, your body dehydrates and you're left over with skin and bone.
False. Water.
You're stupid.
You break me so much. It's not even funny.